surrounded by journalists. Hold your position.
You're watching TBPN.
Today's Tuesday, June 24th, 2025.
Keep it together, John.
We are live from the TBPN
Ultradome,
the Temple of Technology,
the Fortress of Finance,
the capital of capital.
El Capital de Capital.
Front page of the Wall Street Journal has the update from the Iran conflict with the United States. The Iran fired missiles at a U.S. base in Qatar. Since this published, there is a ceasefire, and Donald Trump appears to be very upset with both sides and wants peace and wants the rocket attacks to stop. And so we certainly hope that the conflict will come to a close and we can get back to real estate development.
And golf.
Golf, exactly. Oil drops, stocks rise after attack. So it seems like this.
Yeah, this is what
the market is
Buko
pricing.
Capital Bloke was talking about. He
Yes.
says the start of World War III is a positive catalyst because it implies there will be an eventual end to World War III.
It's a new catalyst, and that's exactly
will
what
be.
happened. So World War III is
Markets will
over.
like.
Hopefully, it stays that way. Anyway, we have some new drinks in the studio. We have new tonic from none other than Chris Williamson. And he was very gracious to send us a full case, and I will be doing a taste test. Now,
have
if you've been
Tyler
following
How much
the
caffeine
show,
is there?
There's 120 milligrams, I believe.
Okay, we
in
should
this
have
one.
Tyler drink 10 today.
Yes, we should. As if you've been following the show, you know that I have been a fan of Mateina, Andrew Huberman's yerba mate. This is the mango key lime flavor. It's non-carbonated energy brew. And here I have the Chris Williamson New Tonic productivity drink. It says fuel your focus. I'm going to do a little taste test and let you know. I'm going to try and be as objective as possible. Okay, so this is the Andrew Huberman yerba mate. That is incredible. It tastes like the work of a TBPN guest, like someone who's been on the show, clearly worked on this. Now let's taste Chris Williamson. I did invite him on the show. Oh, that tastes like someone who hasn't been on the show yet.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's funny how that works.
It is funny how that works. So, I mean, maybe Chris should come on the show and
Yeah, we could correct that.
yeah, and then I think I could maybe give it a more positive review. But
You're onto something, John.
no, but it tastes fantastic, and I will be drinking this throughout the show. And I'm a fan. This is actually the very first time that I've ever tasted this. It's very good. Very good. Anyway, looking forward to having you on the show, Chris. Hop on anytime. You're welcome.
So are we newsmaxing today?
We're
What's going on?
newsmaxing. We're running through a few top stories, the current things. There's the Anthropic ruling.
Right.
We got to talk about All in Tequila. We touched on it yesterday, but there's a lot more news.
There's
there.
a lot more to go
We're
into.
We're putting on our investigative journalism hat.
Yep.
We're going deep.
We're going deep.
Also, Hims and Hers is in the news. There's a messy breakup that has jolted Hims and Hers.
Yep.
But the retail investors are bullish. They're continuing to buy.
So
there's a lot of news back and forth.
Hims,
and then we got to talk
Hims
about...
ended last week at $64 a share. It started yesterday morning at $43 a share. So the Novo Nordisk debacle impacted the share price pretty dramatically. We're going to have Cremieux on the show later.
I'm excited for that.
A GLP-1 enthusiast to break that down with us, and we'll talk through it as well.
Huge enthusiast. And then we'll also take you through the story of the rare earth magnets, which is complete fake news. Rare earths are not rare. They're just the industrial capacity to bring them out of the ground is rare. And the industrial might is rare, and it has mostly moved to China. And so now Ford Motor Company, the Ford of motor companies, has declared that they have a magnet shortage despite the China deal. And so we'll dig into that. Anyway, let's kick it off with David Sachs. We're not talking about tequila yet. We're talking about the positive ruling for AI. This is because Andrew Curran has the story. A federal judge has ruled that Anthropic's use of books to train Claude falls under fair use and is legal under U.S. copyright law. And I couldn't agree more with this. I had been saying this for a long time, that I believe that the results of LLMs are typically transformative, and very few people are actually using LLMs and AI models as perfect substitutes. Yes,
the
exactly.
text itself.
Exactly. You would never go to Claude
the
and
author's
say
work is not being reproduced.
Exactly.
Right? It's being remixed. And
you might
summarized.
say, you might say, give me tell me about the themes in Harry Potter, but you're not saying, Claude, give
Which
me
is
chapter
something that
1.
was available to some degree on blogs since the internet existed. You could look up what are some of the key
There was
points.
that website, SparkNotes. SparkNotes was a version of that was transformative. And so I always thought that this would go this way, but I did think that we needed to sort it out in court. And for some of these categories of media, there probably needed to be deals. And I still think that there's probably room for something like Simon & Schuster or Penguin Random House to go and do a deal with Anthropic, or go do a deal with OpenAI to say, hey, we'll give you even more access. Hey, we'll let you reproduce the whole book if you want in certain cases, as long as you're paying us appropriately. Yeah. And maybe that's just a few cents for every query, but it'll add up and we'll actually make just as much money as we did before. So
interesting thing is that the judge did find that Anthropic infringed on copyrights by storing over 7 million pirated books in a central repository.
Interesting.
So they had the books. And there's going to be a trial in December that will determine damages. Statutory damages could reach up to $150,000 per book.
That's a lot. Wait, multiply that out. That's billions, right? How much is that?
So, anyways, if the judge or the jury were to award
I feel like a book costs like $20. How much does a book cost?
Well, they're saying the damages could be up to $150,000 per work. I doubt that goes through. It would end Anthropic, but there's just no way.
That sounds like the price of a book after David Senra does a episode about it.
Yeah.
And there's only 6 copies on Amazon, and they've been spiked up. Anyway.
Yeah, and this is the first major ruling applying the fair use doctrine to generative AI training, which has been a key legal issue that every lab is following. Ultimately, the court is criticizing Anthropic for pirating these texts.
Yeah.
But
the big question here is, will training on YouTube data be fair use? Because it is public. Like my YouTube videos, I host them on Google servers, on a Google service, but you can go and watch my video and summarize it in a blog post that you post on WordPress, and you can transform it. And I could say, hey, like I'd prefer if you didn't do that, but it is fair use, and I don't have a problem with that. Yeah. Now the question is, can OpenAI go and train? What's their video model again? Not DALL-E. Sora V3 on all of YouTube, because it's fair use.
Yeah.
If this is like,
and the book thing is interesting too, because in theory, Anthropic could have gone to many different public libraries and not had to actually pay for the book, and could have accessed them in different ways. Yeah. But ultimately, we'll see how it shakes out. But
the most
this
important thing for Anthropic, obviously, is to get on Ramp. Time is money, save both. Easy to use corporate cards, bill payments, accounting, and a whole lot more, all in one place. Go to ramp.com, Anthropic. Dario, if you're listening, I know you're listening, go to ramp.com, sign up if you haven't already. David Sachs summed it up. Positive ruling for AI, there must be fair use. There must be a fair use concept for training data, or models would be crippled. China is going to train on all the data regardless. So without fair use, the US would lose the AI race. This is an interesting take. I hadn't even thought about that dynamic, but that makes a ton of sense. And then you have this weird dynamic where it's like, what if DeepSeek is trained on all the American books? And so DeepSeek becomes like hyper-capitalist. And then the only way for American models to stay up is like Perplexity's like DeepSeek 1776. So they're like fine-tuning on DeepSeek output that's
in order to deliver Western ideals.
I love it. Maybe that's where this winds up going.
Little action.
Yeah, it's great. The writers filed the class action against Anthropic last year, arguing the company, which is backed by Amazon, Alphabet, used pirated versions of their books without permission to compensate to teach Claude to respond to human prompts. I wonder what pirated means in this context, because I wonder if it literally means like they went to like a torrent website and like downloaded it illegally, or if it means like, because you can technically like go and buy a DVD and then rip it and then have the MP4 file
version.
It's not pirating, because you own the DVD, and so that gives you the right to put that that file on your computer, and it would look like a pirated file because usually you can't just have
7 million books, $20 a pop. They didn't spend $140 million on books.
They should have support the writers.
And that's one of the risks going into this trial. It's possible that
they should have to pay $20 a book.
They should spend $150,000 a book.
What is the actual damage again? You had the number.
$150,000 per
book.
Work
that is way too high.
It could go up to that.
I would give them some bulk pricing, maybe $17 a book, $15 a book, maybe even $10 a book. But they got to pay something.
The issue is that the individual rights holders are not exactly going to be super happy about getting one purchase.
Hey, $20 is $20.
$20 is $20.
You see at the back of every book, on the back of the book, it says recommended price. Like, I want to buy one. Yes. Who knows what I'm going to do with it?
$20 is $20.
Some people are going to read it. Some people are going to let it sit on the shelf. And some people are going to train a massive AI model.
They could go through this whole lawsuit and come away and buy one double steak, double guac, Chipotle burrito bowl and think, this was worth it.
Yeah, exactly.
It was worth it.
Fundamentally, Anthropic believes that they are creating God. So, like, you want an illiterate God? Like, you got to let God read some books. It would be an affront to God to not let God read books.
Might be onto something.
Anyway, if you're designing the next great AI product, go to Figma.com. Think bigger, build faster. Figma helps design and development teams build great products together. Now, let's move over to the all-in tequila. So we talked about it briefly, but we want to go a lot deeper today. So Chamath Palihapitiya has the story. He says, we launched our ultra premium tequila today in Los Angeles at Delilah's. I've never been to Delilah's. Is it good? Have you been? Are you familiar with this place?
I'm not big into that world, John.
Me either.
We mostly don't leave the house after 9 p.m.
Where does ultra premium sit in the ranking? Because it's below luxury?
Yeah, I was surprised with the pricing is clearly luxury.
That's what I would think.
The positioning overall, the bottle looks incredible. The box looks amazing.
The bottle actually does look incredible.
It very clearly, it is an order of magnitude more expensive than traditional luxury, or I would definitely say ultra premium products, right?
Yeah.
And so, squarely sitting in that luxury category. But I think he just ripped it.
I think it begs the question, like, what comes after ultra premium? And it's obviously giga premium.
So they wanted to leave room for a $10,000
bottle that's giga premium.
So for those that don't know, the bottle, the tequila is $1,200.
$1,200.
750 milliliters.
Yes.
And let me read a description.
Yes.
Pot distilled from 100% Blue Weber agave, grown in the lowlands of Jalisco and aged in white oak, ex-whiskey barrels for 5 years. This extra añejo tequila has the perfect balance. A smooth, slightly sweet taste with hints of wood, citrus, dried fruits, butterscotch, vanilla, cacao, toffee, and cooked agave. We recommend it to be paired with good friends and lively debate, as they do on the show. Fitting. The bottle is a handcrafted art piece evoking a stack of poker chips. It is illuminated from the base to appreciate the beauty and complexity of its design. Each is individually numbered for its very limited release of 7,500 bottles. So,
I would really love a new tonic.
If they sell out, they will gross $9 million.
Wouldn't you love a $1,200 energy drink?
Yeah.
Just a beautiful energy drink.
Ultra premium
energy drink. It comes in a glass bottle. You pour it out. Oh, they'd be so good. They really should do that. I'm sick of the energy drinks in the $3 a can, $5 a can. Let's get these numbers up. $500.
Let's get these numbers up.
Let's do it. Anyway, there was a lot of pushback. Augustus Dorico chimed in to the tune of 5,000 likes. He says, the elites have totally abandoned us and their responsibility to steward the nation. We're on the brink of war. Deaths of despair are at an all-time high. The economy is fake, and the plutocracy is launching ultra-premium tequila brands. We need greatness. And so he was very upset. Non-equity partner had the flip side, said, you can just do multiple things, lead transformative agendas, and launch liquor brands. Look at Tesla. Elon Musk launched the Tesla tequila. It was kind of a fun side project. And I think that's what Emily Sundberg was getting at before when she was talking about how celebrity brands, people kind of know the thing. Like, do we really think Dave Friedberg is going to take his foot off the gas with his company that he's actively running to work on this tequila brand? Like, no, he signed off on it, went to the party. It's going to live on a website. I actually found the design firm that did the design. Like, this is not going to suck these folks away from the other things. At the same time, Augustus does have some point that, like, maybe it's a little unserious for them to do it. I don't know. But
I don't know why it's unserious. They have their friends. They have a podcast. They enjoy drinking together, playing poker. They introduced a poker-themed bottle of tequila that their audience can buy and enjoy with them.
Yeah,
I don't think it's unserious.
Yeah.
I think I have more questions around how seriously are they taking it as a business?
Sure,
right?
sure,
Are
sure.
They bringing
We need to get
a
into that.
CEO? Are they trying to scale this into?
Yeah, is it a drop? Because it might not even have its own C corp or like its own LLC. It might just be like merch essentially, and it's cool as merch. And then there is this question where I feel like there is a drumbeat in the news and in the culture around like things have never been worse. It's so bad right now. We're in a uniquely bad situation.
Yet at the same time, we're at peace in the Middle East today.
Yes, peace in the Middle East. Finally, for the first time in 60 years.
Only a few days after the launch of this, and there could very well be some
correlation.
There's definitely a correlation. Whether or not there's causation, we don't know yet.
I think you get a couple of these bottles.
But Trump had his own vodka back
in
so he introduced this in 2005, the Trump vodka, which is funny because he doesn't drink alcohol, right?
Yeah, he doesn't.
He's never been big into that whole world.
Wow.
And so I think this was just...
Yeah, how are you going to criticize the All-In guys seem to enjoy the tequila, at least.
Trump vodka was an American brand of vodka produced at first in the Netherlands, then later in Germany by Drinks America. Drinks America.
It was made in Germany and by a company named Drink America?
Produced in the Netherlands and then Germany by Drinks Americas. It's the company's called Drinks Americas. Two S's.
It was never produced in America.
The brand was launched in the United States in 2005, but ceased production under the Trump name in 2011 when it failed to meet the required threshold for distribution. Honestly, might be the time to bring it back.
I don't know if they're going to do distribution. It seemed like it was all
This is
online.
interesting. However, it is still sold in 2016. This was the last time it was updated, especially around the Jewish holiday of Passover.
Huh.
Interesting.
Odd.
Trump at the time, the brand slogan was "Success Distilled," with Trump predicting it would outsell Grey Goose vodka. He also said that when mixed with tonic, which he referred to as a Trump and tonic (TNT), it would become the most drunk.
TNT is good.
It would become the most drunk cocktail in the United States. I mean, the consistency of his confidence across eras is.
It's undefeated.
Incredible. In 2007, Drinks Americas signed a deal to export 50,000 cases of Trump vodka annually to Russia.
Oh, no.
But in 2011, it was discontinued due to sales failing to meet the company threshold requirements. Several reasons were attributed to this. One was because Trump himself is a non-drinker and never drank Trump vodka.
Never even tasted it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Drinks Americas also had problems producing it because the glass used in the bottle and the gold leaf labels were expensive and the company could not afford to produce them in large numbers.
Yeah.
In 2015, in his campaign for president, Trump did not include Trump vodka amongst assets submitted to the Federal Election Committee.
Because it was basically a zero.
Yep.
Interesting. Well, my advice for the besties, you're launching a tequila brand, you're going to have to pay sales tax. You got to get on numeralhq.com. Sales tax on autopilot. Spend less than 5 minutes per month on sales tax compliance. I liked Mike Solana's take. He said, I'm happy for the All-In guys and tired of the tedious hate. They built a popular show, which is hard. True. Now they're launching a tequila brand. Okay, great. Hope it does well. Jealousy on this app is unreal. Their success can't hurt you. Focus on yourself. I like this. Eric Torenberg chimes in. How you feel about their tequila brand is how you feel about yourself. That's been a line he's been repeating. It is interesting. It seems like, their whole show started as like they're locked down during COVID. They all hop on Zoom and they have some fun talking to each other. And they love poker. And this feels on brand. This feels like a good line extension for the brand. I guess there's a question of like, should they just run ads for a big tequila brand? But we should get into...
I think this is way more fun for them.
Yeah, it's fun to have their own thing, right?
There's nothing more fun than creating something, especially if you've been in tech, creating something that's physical that you can hold, that you can put on a table, that's beautiful,
Yeah.
that you can share, that's social. It's
So
incredible.
I want to get into, expected value, expected market size, expected profits. Like, how successful do we think this will be? Because there's a world where this becomes a major brand. Prime is a big brand. Feastables is a big brand. Like, these
Which
guys
Chamath
could
is
turn,
in.
these guys could turn this into a massive company. At the same time, it could be more of a drop, and they could sell a couple hundred bottles, couple thousand bottles, make a few million, move on to the next thing. I found the design firm that actually worked on this, the Besties All in Tequila. It's from a design team called Hello Stranger. They say, we'll fix your brand. We'll give you a new brand, a brand that wins all the awards and sells at a premium. We'll give you a strategy, a unique angle based on insight and research. We'll give you the sexiest packaging that people can't put down, and we'll give you all the collateral you need to make your brand flourish. On this site, you won't find headshots of designers looking important next to yucca plants, because it's not about us. It's about the billions in sales in one of the toughest sectors in the whole of retail. We're Stranger and Stranger. We've been doing it for over 30 years, and we are the best. As one of our clients said, don't leave anything to chance. They started in
Only
1994.
pushback I have here, I think Day Job is the best. They did the design for David Protein Bars.
True.
It's going to do billions in its first few years.
Yeah.
It's hard to argue with those kind of results, but
So they announced the Besties All in Tequila, which is an interesting name choice as well. It's not the All in Tequila. It's not Besties Tequila. It's the Besties All in Tequila. But they say the Besties at the famous All In podcast have just released a $1,200 tequila, which unfortunately for all of us is already sold out. The guys are big poker players, hence the All In. And the iconic bottle single-mindedly owns the idea. And so the love language here, you read some of this, handcrafted art piece evoking a stack of poker chips. It's illuminated from the base to appreciate the beauty. Oh, so there's a light inside? Let's go. That's cool.
there's a light inside.
I mean, that's what it sounds like. It says it's illuminated from the base. So I think when you're spending
Wow.
$1,200,
So that's
you can
how
go
they get
really
that glow.
I think it glows. Yeah.
Incredible.
It's tech product.
Yep.
It's internet connected. It's got
It's IoT device.
It's an IoT device potentially
for boozing.
for boozing. Imagine you could link this. It could measure how much is in there. Have an app orders you more automatically subscription. Now we're talking.
It goes from a $9 million first run into a $9 million MRR business.
Yes.
Getting up into
think
that
we're getting there.
9-figure revenue
getting
range
there.
pretty quickly.
It is fascinating. So each individually numbered each bottle is individually numbered. They're releasing 7,500 bottles. So if you do the math, 7,000 times
It's 9 million.
9 million. That's how much they're trying to make. Each bottle arrives in a numbered collector's box, bringing the Besties signatures. They're signing them, or it's printed on there. I don't know.
I think it's got to be printed on there.
You don't
David
think
Sachs does
Uber
not have time to hand sign
7,000? How long would that take
7,500.
you? You do one every couple seconds. It's days work.
Those signatures would get so sloppy by the end.
Mr. Beast has done that. I've seen streams where he's been signing every single t-shirt.
That's cool.
It gets really messy.
That's cool.
But they say wet your beak, go all in, and it is remarkable how much their brand has dominated the catchphrases. We've been pretty deliberate about trying to build the TBPN brand around Fortress of Finance, Lever Up, all these different catchphrases. They've done a really good job, because as soon as I hear wet your beak, I think all in. I think all in.
Wet your beak.
Anyway, there's been some timeline in turmoil because Casa Czar tequila has a similar bottle design.
Very similar.
And so we can pull that up. The founder story over at Casa Czar lies in a husband and wife founder story, a tale of resilience, determination, and the courage to go, quote, all in.
Yeah,
and
so
this is from before.
if you search all in tequila right now, you'll get a post from April 11th, 2025 that says, this is on thespiritsbusiness.com, the tequila stack-owned brand Casa Czar transcends mere novelty by merging cultural roots with the most important aspect, flavor and character. Max Ramirez and Viviana Serialta Ramirez, two ex-Diageo executives and industry veterans, launched Casa Czar in November 2024. The husband and wife team were driven by passion, determination, and courage to go quote-unquote all in pursuit of a dream to create a brand that would stand out in a crowded market, not only visually, but also gastronomically. Less than a year since its launch, Casazar has quickly gained momentum and garnered industry accolades. Most recently, the Tequila and Mezcal Masters 2025. Casazar Tequila won 2 gold and a master medal. The brands Joven and Reposado bagged gold, and their ultra premium. Well, ultra premium might just be like a category. We're kind of exposing how little we drink anything other than champagne. 100% agave tequila categories, earning a master medal. Casazar Tequila Añejo impressed judges.
Here's the bottle. I don't know
with
if we can
its
zoom in on
very
that.
expressive nose with plenty of earthy roasted agave and peppery spice, creamy and syrupy on the palate with drying oak and peppery spice, balanced with sweet golden syrup and charred agave. Judge Matt Chambers, director and co-founder of Whiskey for Everyone, described Casazar Añejo as so delicious. So anyways, I saw this and my immediate thought was that maybe All In had white labeled the bottle, but that doesn't seem to be the case. And digging in a little bit more, some of the issues here, this company's been in business for a while now. It's ex-Diageo execs. They have patents. From what I could tell, around. I think
it's more of like a trade dress thing. The patent would be like how you manufacture
apparently they have
it.
design patents.
Okay.
Around the bottle design, which is very distinct.
Interesting.
Very distinct.
Yeah, so there could be some fallout, maybe a negotiation. Maybe someone's going to have to go all in to put it all on the line to see who can own the poker chip stack design for tequila bottles.
Yeah,
and
this could get spicy,
could
right?
get messy.
According to Casazar, the tequila is designed for those who live like a high stakes poker game, fearless, driven, and willing to take risks.
These are a lot of the same things, so there could be some confusion.
The besties are taking a risk.
Yes, and I've run into founders before who have inadvertently used names that they thought were kind of generic, and then they wound up, there was a smaller player in a sub-market that actually had national ambitions and was going to sue and pushed to say, hey, you actually have to back off my trademark because I know that you're selling this type of sauce is Big Spoon. There was Big Spoon roasters and Big Spoon sauce makers, and they both had sauces that were spicy, and they had different kind of logos but similar names, and one was in the Southwest and the other one was in California or Southeast. But eventually they both wanted to go national, and so they collided, and they had to kind of decide how to back off.
Well, we saw this yesterday with IYO.
Oh yeah,
the brand,
same thing.
And OpenAI, where OpenAI had to scrub all mention of IO from their website because of a trademark issue. This is seemingly a bit different because it's a design sort of patent or trademark. I don't have exact specifics, but I expect this to get spicy. And you're going to have people.
Casazar is known for being sweet and spicy.
That's right.
I do wonder where ultra premium comes in. I feel like it's anything over like $100 or something. Because
probably.
Why would you put a $200 bottle and a $1,200 bottle in the same category? Those feel like it's almost half an order magnitude. It's like 500 or 5x difference in price. It feels like they're not necessarily playing in the same category, but the design elements and the fact that it is a tequila and they're clearly going after awards and Casazar.
Both are premium. Both are heavily branded around poker.
Yep.
One of them launched in 2024.
Yep.
One of them is launching today.
Oh, wait, Casazar is only 2024.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. It's like pretty new.
It's new.
Okay.
They filed their initial trademarks in 2023, though, so it's been a little bit.
Okay.
So they've been in market for a while. And Casazar's execs, ex-Diageo, right? They're probably got some sharp elbows. I imagine they're going to want to pursue this to some degree, just given people don't realize how. I think we live in this tech bubble.
Yep.
I don't think people realize how big All In is. It's like way bigger than just tech now.
Huge.
And so this, I think we'll see how this shakes out. But
so there's another thing that's kind of confusing is that I was wondering if they were playing in different markets because Casazar is 40% ABV. That's 40% alcohol by volume, 80 proof, which is pretty standard for liquor. On the All-In Tequila, the Besties All-In Tequila website, it says it's 750 milliliters, same size, 40% ABV, $1,200, which would be the exact same stats. But when you zoom in on the box, I don't know if you can see this, it says it's 48% alcohol by volume. Can you see this, Jordy? 48% here.
That might have just been an early render.
Yeah, maybe. I wonder where they're landing, because I feel like 48% is a much stronger choice for tequila. Like it would be noticeable that you would have a stronger alcohol content. And it's also much harder to mask the flavor if you are dealing with an extra 8% of alcohol, because it's just going to be more alcoholic. It's like the
powerful stuff.
Yeah, I mean, one of the secrets to those like spirits that popular on college campuses is that they take the alcohol content down to something like 30% or 35%. Flavor it.
I don't know where this picture is from, because on the website it says 40%.
I don't know either. I don't know where I got that picture.
Well, we will have to get a bottle ourselves.
We will, and we'll taste it. We'll immediately tell you. Yep, 42%.
We wanted to have Tyler taste it, but unfortunately,
under 21,
he's not of age.
Yeah.
So we'll save a little bit for you, Tyler, for your birthday.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Well, if the besties are planning to take the besties all in tequila to the moon, they're going to need to get on Vanta. They're going to need to automate compliance, manage risk, prove trust continuously. Vanta's trust management platform takes the work out of your security and compliance process and replaces it with continuous automation. Whether you're pursuing your first framework or managing a complex program, if you wind up turning this into the big IoT SaaS product that we've imagined it being, you're going to be managing customer data. You're going to have their health records potentially. You're going to be pulling in all sorts of stuff to optimize their liquor consumption, and you're going to need to be secure. So you're going to need to get on Vanta for sure. How big do you think this is? Where do you think this actually goes? Like I think that's the more serious question. Is it totally 9 million? I think that they're going to sell that. I think they're going to sell all 7,000. No problem.
The haters will be in disbelief.
There are so many fans. We know we're going to buy a bottle, but we know folks who are friends and friends of friends who are going to buy bottles. There's going to be people that buy bottles because it's fun and they want to support the show that they like. There's going to be folks that gift it. There's going to be people that buy it because they want to just like support the thing that hasn't been charging them for 5 years. There's a little bit of just like
people just want to support the dictator, Shema.
Right? But honestly, it's like there is another world where if all in was $20 a month, you would have paid $1,000 over the last 4 years, and they didn't charge you $20 a month. They didn't even run ads.
It's free.
And so what's your way to get them to say, hey, yeah, you've delivered me $1,000 worth of value and I have it because I'm successful. And this is a great way. And you get something that, who knows what the margin is on this. Is it worth $1,200? Maybe. I don't know. It's hard to say, but it's a fun thing to buy.
Imagine you're going to a friend's house for dinner. What's funnier than bringing a bottle of the Bessie's All In tequila and be like, hey, I just picked this up on the way over. It looked nice.
It's like a good like high-end tech gag
it's like
gift,
a luxury
almost
gag gift,
but it's also probably really good because it's expensive.
Yeah.
Right? So then you taste it and you're like, oh, this is actually really nice. Which bottle design do you like more? Because Casa Czar has this ceramic bottle that they hand paint. You said you liked it had the stack of chips all the way to the top.
So it's stacked top to bottom.
I don't like that.
John doesn't like it.
But break it down.
I think the ceramic look is nice. They look more like regular poker chips.
That is true.
I think it's cool.
I think it's almost too close to poker chips. Like I would be confused. I'd be like, is that just a stack of poker chips? It's like hiding. It's hiding. Can we zoom in on the stack of poker chips there? Bring that over. Oh no. Skill issue.
First zoom, bud. First time zooming.
Yeah,
anyways, the Casa Czar is a beautiful bottle.
Multi-touch years ago.
The Casa Czar, beautiful bottle.
Yep.
I like that it's fully stacked.
Okay.
Ultimately,
I think it just doesn't read as a bottle of liquor, whereas the Besties All In Tequila does to me read as it. And then also the glass, the glow
is insane.
It is in a different tier. Ceramic is premium. I would only give the ultra premium label now to the Besties All In Tequila. I would call they've reset what it means to be ultra premium.
Look, they're just showing off zooms now.
There we go.
They're zooming all over the place.
Yeah. I mean, not to talk trash about Casa Czar. It looks fantastic. I'm just saying that the Besties All In Tequila, they innovated by including the illumination, by including the glass, by
we
including
don't know.
the top.
That could be the IoT functionality that people have been asking for.
We don't know. So I would give the besties all in tequila, the edge here. Now, do you know the story of the iPhone? Are you familiar with what an iPhone is?
Are you familiar I know where you're going with this. I know where you're going with this.
So when Steve Jobs introduced the iPhone, he famously said on stage, and yes, we're calling it the iPhone. And this was controversial because Cisco owned the rights, the trademark to the word, the iPhone. And so everyone was like, how is this going to work? You just launched a product that is clearly derivative of this other company's name. They have a trademark. They're just going to block you. But at some point, a deal was made. I don't know if it even became a lawsuit. It was probably just like they sat down and said, hey, let's allow this to happen. We want to run with this. We could take it to the courts, but that's a headache for both of us. Let's just net this out and we'll buy some WebEx licenses.
Crazy. There's an article on appleinsider.com from 2006. Cisco introduces the iPhone family of devices.
Wow.
And it is not nearly as good looking as the iPhone would ultimately be. But it's funny to see the iPhone effectively the iPhone word mark placed on a non-Apple device.
Well, if you're trying to build the next iPhone or software for the iPhone, get on Linear. Linear is a purpose-built tool for planning and building products, meet the system for modern software development, streamline issues, projects, and product roadmaps. Now, we discovered an interesting link between Cisco, the iPhone, Apple, OpenAI, Johnny Ive. And I think we cracked the code. We got to break it down for everyone.
Get the tinfoil hat.
Get the tinfoil hat. I will send the image to the team so they can pull it up. So this is how it goes. So Apple, as we mentioned, they potentially got the name the iPhone from Cisco. Now, who designed the iPhone at Apple? Johnny Ive. That's right. Now, where does Johnny Ive work now? OpenAI. They acquired Love from. They brought him over to OpenAI. Who's the chief product officer at OpenAI?
Kevin Weil.
And who's on what boards does he sit on?
Cisco.
who licensed the iPhone name from Apple.
Wow.
It's a snake eating his tail, an Ouroboros of Silicon Valley intrigue. We cracked the code here. It's all linked. Symbolism will be their downfall.
the most completely nonsensical schizo diagram of all time.
What are you alleging?
What are you're alleging that things happen?
People that interact with each other.
Yeah, that
if only it were so simple, Jordy.
Yeah.
If only it were so simple. I wish I had your mind.
Yeah.
The mind of a golden retriever to not see the obvious pattern here.
Yeah.
That
the big conspiracy.
The big conspiracy that we unveiled here on TBPN. That they're all linked. It's all part of
the plan.
You're pulling the strings. Big Cisco, Apple, OpenAI, Johnny Ive, Kevin Weil. It's all linked. We blew it wide open. We should throw all those guys in our CRM. ADIO, Customer Relationship Magic. ADIO is the AI native CRM that builds, scales, and grows your company to the next level.
Anyway, the official CRM of Coca-Cola.
So final word on the besties all in tequila. I think it's a no-brainer that they sell 9 million in this first run. The question is, do they do that every month? Do they do that every year? Do they move on to a different drop, or does this become something that is a staple?
I think one of the challenges of what it will come down. It'll come down to product quality,
sure,
and then the number of people in the all-in audience that care enough about tequila to spend $1,200 on a bottle of tequila, not in a sort of like funny gag setting, but as like I'm gonna just drink this regularly, and I think it could be a lot. Like I could see them selling 20,000 bottles of this. You can imagine them one of them is drinking it on every show, right? It's sort of this constant, always on advertisement for it. I could imagine them, they're saying the besties all in tequila. I could imagine them going into other categories, right? And there's a world where they're selling tens of thousands.
Besties all in malt liquor. 40 ounces.
40s. I would love to see J. Cal do Edward 40 hands.
Yeah.
Edward 40 hands.
That'd be amazing. Yeah.
We got to move on.
Okay.
I'm having too much.
I have a
having too
different
much
bull
fun.
case for you. I have a different bull case
me.
for you. It's a little more serious. So I have been in consumer package world for a decade. I've built 2 brands in the space. Like, the product quality is super important. You do need an edge, and you do need a value prop that can actually resonate with consumers, and you need ongoing marketing. That's 100% true. But in fact, the biggest monopoly, brand is an important monopoly for consumer goods, but there's almost a bigger monopoly with just distribution. Like, if you actually walk around the grocery store, you will see, I talked to a founder who came up with, his whole model was he literally would walk down the grocery store and look at not just the products, but who owned the products. And he would see that, wow, this entire aisle is owned by Unilever. They just dominate the entire aisle. There might be a ton of different brands, but everything is Unilever, or everything is General Mills or Kraft or something like that. And so he wound up building a company that does. He was looking around and he noticed that the popcorn section of the popcorn aisle was extremely uncompetitive because Orville Redenbacher is the only major brand, and they're not owned by Unilever, so they don't
hear much about that guy.
You don't hear
anymore.
much. So he started a company that was like a popcorn spray that you could spray, a flavoring that you'd spray on the popcorn. It's purely additive, wasn't competing with anyone, and he grew that to like a couple $1 million. It was great. And I think that a lot of these products, they do just wind up winning on distribution. And what's interesting about this is that I am almost certain that in the all-in audience, yes, there are consumers, but there are tons and tons of people who work in distribution, work in store ownership. Like, would it be possible for any of the besties to get the CEO of Bevmo on the phone? Like, absolutely, in 2 seconds they could do that. Could they get this into Walmart? Absolutely. Could they get this into, I don't know, CVS? I don't even know what the biggest channels are for high ultra premium liquor are. But if you just think, even like the independent store owners, they probably listen or are familiar, right? And so just being able to take that call and accelerate your sales force and have them be like, yeah, sure, send me one. I'll put it on the shelf. When we sell it, I'll just order another one from you since it's $1,000. And so pulling that distribution forward into the future, being more aggressive about that, about getting into distribution, holding on to it. I think that's something that could be interesting. And then the fact that the bottle design, there's a couple companies that have been particularly good with bottle design. I've talked to one consumer packaged goods founder who basically said that their whole model was like, go into a category and figure out how to make something like shiny and gold and like pop off the shelf. Because you look at the wall of all the products, they all look generic. If you can be the one that stands out, you're going to just have more people pull it off to sample it. And when I think about if I'm walking into a liquor store and I'm seeing a whole bunch of tequila and one of them is literally glowing and looks like and it has a light up display. This is something that a lot of consumer packaged goods founders negotiate for. They will say, hey, like Red Bull would come in and say, we will give you a Red Bull fridge. You know those fridges? Or like, we will come in and give you a light up display. We fight for this all the time with Lucy. Like we will say, oh, we'll send you a free in-store display that you can put on your shelf, and they're putting it on the counter so that we don't have to fight for the shelf space that's there. And so imagine if they're like, this, every bottle is a light up display. It will jump off the back bar. And so it won't just sit there and collect dust. It will automatically draw the eye to it. I think that the light up thing could be enough of like a distribution advantage that it winds up being a popular product.
Totally.
I don't know though.
Totally, I agree. I think it'll come down to
case.
product quality, what percentage of the audience actually wants to spend $1,200 on tequila on a recurring basis. Do they go into other categories? I think they could sell, Chamath is also launching a wine club.
Yeah, that was interesting.
That's separate.
There was so much backlash to the tequila thing. It wasn't even the first alcohol brand he launched that month.
Yeah. Yeah, and at the end of the day, anybody that's getting mad about them doing something like this, it's like, they have always been very candid that they enjoy drinking together. Yeah. Why, and like, and it's not like they can't do world positive things in tech in addition to having fun and having their own alcohol brand. I think a lot of group chats out there would like to have their own alcohol brand.
Totally.
Anyways, I'm excited to see it play out. I'm excited to try it.
Yeah. This is definitely not like a pivot of the brand in the same way that the talking politics is not a pivot of the brand. You go back to the very first episode of the All In podcast, they were talking politics. They were talking about COVID and stuff. Like they've been very consistent in all this stuff. So anyway, if they're trying to pump their tequila, they got to buy a billboard on AdQuick, adquick.com, out-of-home advertising.
Straight to the 101. I want to see every single billboard on the 101.
The besties, all in tequila. Out-of-home advertising made easy and measurable. Say goodbye to the headaches of out-of-home advertising. Only AdQuick combines technology, out-of-home expertise, and data to enable efficient, seamless ad buying across the globe.
Yet if you're trying to get the attention of a CEO, maybe you want to sell some enterprise software to them, why not gift them a bottle of the besties?
Yeah.
And that'll get you a demo real quick.
I think VCs should be sending this to founders. Founders should be sending it to VCs. It's going to be a hot commodity if you can get your paws on one of these.
Yep.
Anyway, Hims and Hers stock drops more than 30% after Novo Nordisk breakup. This is from the Wall Street Journal. Of course, if you're interested in stocks that are dropping because you're going short or are popping because you're going long, you got to get on Public Investing. For those who take it seriously, they got multi-asset investing, industry-leading yields, and they're trusted by millions. Anyway, the Wegovy maker, that's Novo Nordisk, has cut ties with the telehealth company, Hims and Hers, citing allegations of deceptive marketing practices and drug compounding. I feel like the drug compounding. How is this an allegation? I thought that's like what Hims was saying they were doing. I felt like there was a lot of press about them being like proud of drug compounding because there was a shortage. But I guess it's alleged at this point. So we'll dig into this. Novo Nordisk abruptly ended its partnership with Hims and Hers after the Danish drug maker accused the telehealth company of illegally selling cheaper copycats. Okay, so This is after the FDA's ruling about whether or not there was in fact a shortage. So the Novo said on Monday that it had concerns about the safety of knockoff versions of Wegovy and that Hims and Hers' deceptive marketing of such knockoffs put patient safety at risk. In turn, Hims and Hers accused Novo of pressuring it to steer patients to Wegovy regardless of whether or not it was the best option for patients. News that the deal was scrapped weighed heavily on Hims and Hers shares, sending them down 32% in afternoon trading in what would be the largest decline for the stock on record. Novo Nordisk's shares were down nearly 6% in New York. The messy breakup comes less than 2 months after the companies unveiled what they called a long-term collaboration to directly provide Wegovy to Hims and Hers patients.
Okay, so this was somewhat predictable, right?
Yep. We talked to TJ Parker about this.
Hims has been on a generational run in the markets because they're one of the best, easiest ways that people can just go buy Wegovy.
Yes.
Right? Now, if you're Novo Nordisk and you're like, cool, we're selling through this channel, but then the retailer, in this case Hims, is telling customers as they come in, hey, we know you wanted Wegovy, but how about this sort of cheap knockoff, this compounded version?
Yep.
Now, Wegovy is probably legitimately concerned about safety issues. Mm-hmm. There can be issues around compounding in drug safety. But then the bigger issue is like, hey, you're using our brand and our products to acquire customers. Mm-hmm. And then you're getting those people in the door and you're saying, hey, how about this sort of cheaper off the shelf alternative? And so I have to imagine that this is Novo Nordisk recognizing the value of their brand in this massive, fast-growing category and saying, we're not going to let you leverage our brand to compete on these sort of high-margin, knockoff products.
Yeah, I mean, like the Instagram ads that I saw were definitely pushing the brand name for real.
Yeah.
And there was a while when they wouldn't use the term Viagra and they would use ED meds and sildenafil and tadalafil and all of those different, they would use the actual underlying compound name, and they pushed it so hard that people actually started knowing the name of the underlying compound.
Yeah.
But the brand name.
How do you think Hims will respond? Do you think they'll introduce a 10-in-1 shampoo that includes compounded GLP-1s, Viagra, hair loss medication? What else could Adderall? They could put some caffeine.
I mean, this is Cognizin, rhodiola, Panax, ginseng, L-theanine, caffeine. Get some
Creatine.
GLP-1 in here.
Creatine soap with
Creatine soap would be good.
all the above.
Eli Lilly's the one that lost the patent, right? Because they forgot to pay the...
No, I think it was Novo Nordisk.
Oh, it was Novo? Wow.
They're
all over the place.
It is interesting to watch.
Yeah.
Novo Nordisk, how much do you think their stock is up over the past 5 years?
Ooh, 500%?
Try 113%.
113, but it was a big company, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's been on a
big
tear.
company, but still. And how much do you what do you think the chart looks like over the last year?
It's down.
During the GLP-1 boom.
It's down because it ripped up so high.
Down 50%.
And then it went down
over the
50%, and they rotated out their CEO. That's right. We covered that.
Yeah.
Hims and hers is at $9.66 billion. That is down from a high of maybe 15 billion. And it's one of those interesting like SPAC targets that I think they got out through a SPAC, and they never really went down that far. They were down, 30%. I mean, they SPAC'd at $10 a share, went down to $4 a share, kind of grinded back up. Now they're at $40 a share. So if you bought the SPAC and you did hold for 5 years, you're sitting on a 3x, 4x, not bad. So kind of a narrative violation around the SPAC, like all SPACs are bad narrative.
Yeah. I mean, and the CEO Andrew Dudum, we should have him on the show, said that I think his position, we have no idea what the details of their contract actually look like, but fairly reasonable position to say we're not going to just sell one product, because it's true. Not every patient is going to respond well to Wegovy.
Yep.
And they should have options.
So before striking deals with brand name drug makers, telehealth firms were selling lower cost knockoff versions of these drugs made by compounding pharmacies, taking market share away from brand name makers. The compounding pharmacies had been allowed to mass produce knockoff versions conditionally because the original drugs were in short supply. Now, the whole compounding pharmacy dynamic is very different because I feel like the laws were created such that if a big pharmaceutical company couldn't supply you the drug, like your local pharmacist could compound it, but then the startups kind of like rolled up all the compounding pharmacies and were doing it at like a much bigger scale, and it wasn't exactly what was intended originally, but I'm not sure about that.
Yeah. So the big question
is
will
when
there
should
be
they have
more?
stopped?
Well,
Yeah.
the big question: will there be more regulatory action around compounded GLP-1s, and what will that do to their business? So, roller coaster of a year for Hims. Partnership was announced in April 2025, popped, terminated just a few months later with a 35% drop.
Well, if you're on GLP-1s and you're losing weight and your wrists are getting thinner, you need a watch that can adapt to your new wrist size. You need to go on getbezel.com. Your Bezel Concierge is available to source you any watch on the planet, seriously any watch. And you can find a watch with metal links that you could take out a link if you've lost a lot of weight. Or you could add one back if you're in a bulking cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
keep those
like
links
a
handy
Nautilus.
when you're ready to start the bowl.
Exactly. This is key. This is very, very key. Anyway, comment from the CEO Andrew Dudum. He said Hims and hers will continue to offer access to a range of treatments, including Wegovy, so they continue to battle it out. It'll be interesting to follow this, and we will of course be talking to Cremieux about this later today. There is a investing visual post here that I pulled up about how Hims makes money. They're making $576 million online, $10 million from wholesale. That brings their total revenue to $586 million, which is up 111% year over year. Gross profit there, $428 million. Operating expenses are $337 million, leaving them $92 million in net income, or $92 million in operating income, and $50 million in net income. So $50 million in net income for a $10 billion stock, pretty high price to earnings ratio if that's their, or if that's an indication of their earnings. But it's been a big growth stock on a major trend, GLP-1, and so the retail army has been coming out in force. King, KSM's Capital, said it felt too good to be true for HIMS to go this long without some FUD. This is more like it. Just bought 2,300 shares, and top secret stocks.
What does the retail army call themselves?
I don't know. Himbos or something.
They say, I'm really him.
Yeah. HIMS, look at the data. You can see their operating margin has improved a ton since they've gone public. They started out at negative 40% operating margin and climbed up every single quarter. They're now at a 6.5% operating margin. The number of subscribers in the millions has gone from, they were at 0.6, so 600,000 subscribers. Now they're at 2.4 million, and their total revenue has gone from $272 million in revenue. This is the last 12 months. Now they're almost at $2 billion. And so they've almost 10x revenue from that SPAC price. And that's what's driving the stock overall to be up 3 to 4x off the original SPAC price. So
yeah,
very good news. If you're Andrew Dudum and you need a break from grinding it out at HIMS, book a wander. Find your happy place. Book a wander with inspiring
it's
views.
summer, Andrew.
Hotel grade amenities, dreamy beds, top tier cleaning, 24/7 concierge service. It's a vacation.
Imagine you're in one of the gnarliest PR crises of your life, and two guys in suits on a podcast that you've never met are just like, yeah, take a vacation. I think it's a bad idea. Summer's long. HIMS is up 2% today, John.
You're good.
So it's time to treat yourself.
Yeah, take your foot off the gas.
Head to wander.com.
And speaking of foots on gas, Ford, which makes cars that you can put your foot on the gas of, is now under pressure to put their foot on the gas of acquiring rare earth elements. They are having difficulties obtaining vital magnets.
They're scrambling
with rare earth elements, despite the deal the United States struck.
And I just want to highlight,
China.
I think the silhouette of this car is fantastic.
The Mach-E GT, you're a fan.
I've only owned one Ford Raptor.
Yeah.
It was a very fun car, not very practical if you need to park in cities and things like that. But
yeah, if you want practicality, Ford GT.
I took a drive. Yeah, practicality, all about the Ford GT.
Yeah.
But I took a drive. My buddy Matt has a Ford Mustang. What is it called? The
Dark
Mustang Mach-E Rally. It's like this rally version of the Mach-E.
Okay, so it's still the crossover. It's still like an SUV, more or less.
Sort of. It's like a hatchback.
Yeah. But it's not a car. I would not call this a car.
It is a very, very cool car.
It's fun?
To him, he said it's like the most fun car he's ever owned.
Let's go.
And he's had something from pretty much every manufacturer at this point. So
well, he should hold on to it because they might be struggling to make them in the future.
Might be going up.
Yeah.
So Ford Motor still facing difficulties obtaining vital magnets made with rare earth elements, despite a deal the U.S. struck with China to ease export controls, a company executive said Monday. It's hand to mouth, the normal supply chain scrambling that you have to do, said Lisa Drake, a vice president overseeing Ford's industrial planning for batteries and electric vehicles. Ford in May stopped production at a vehicle factory in the Chicago area because of a magnet shortage. The situation has improved, but the company still needs to move things around to avoid manufacturing shutdowns given the scarcity of the materials. Drake told reporters during a briefing at an EV battery plant the company is building in Michigan. China in April began requiring companies to apply for permission to export magnets with rare earth metals, including dysprosium and terbium. The country controls roughly 90% of the world's supply of these elements, which help magnets to operate at high temperatures. Yes. Much of the world's modern technology, from smartphones to jet fighters, rely on these magnets.
So everyone sees that 90% of the world's supply and thinks it's 90% of what's in the ground, and that's not the case.
Yep.
What is really going on here is that the industrial capacity to remove the rare earth elements from the ground is 90% in China. So they have 90% of the mining companies, 90% of the mining equipment. They don't necessarily have 90% of the actual rare earth metals in the ground, and the rare earth metals are not that rare. But we hear this every once in a while where we say, oh, like there was a ton of rare earth deposits found in Ukraine or found in America somewhere. And that's not enough. Like just having them in the ground, you still have to go and dig the mine, get the approvals, make sure. And one of the big reasons this was offshored was because of environmental considerations, which I find so frustrating because it's one world. Like, it's an Earth. Like, if you want to protect the Earth, moving something from one continent to another does not save the Earth. Like, I mean, I guess there's a little bit of like, yes, there's runoff in one river, and so there's local pollution that you're avoiding. But in general,
you've been to China, John. It is dark.
Yeah,
the sky is legitimately dark.
But I think that like a lot of the pollution that's going on over there is affecting us too.
For sure.
And so, especially if you think about like the broader global warming picture, the broader like poisoning of the air, like that stuff's not going to come over here at some point. Like I find that hard to believe. It would have been much better to just focus on ramping up production in America and then actually doing the technological innovation to develop cleaner processes and not just offshoring it because it's like dirty and then just doing the dirty stuff over there. I don't know. Maybe there's an argument for it, but it feels like the whole offshoring project was wrapped in this veneer of like, no, hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil, that type of vibe. Like, if we can't see the pollution here, it's fine. It's not happening. And it's like, it is still happening. It's just you don't have control over it.
Yeah,
and now they have
we
leverage
massive
over you.
supply chain risk.
Exactly. And I don't think it actually had an impact on the stated goal of the environmentalists that pushed rare earth manufacturing overseas was not achieved. And so that feels like a failure. And then on top of that, we lost control of this important supply chain. So Ford isn't the only car maker struggling to obtain these magnets. Several other car makers say that the pace of export license approvals for rare earth magnets hasn't changed significantly. It isn't quite day to day, but it's week to week, said an executive at one of the car makers. Car companies have warned that they could be forced to halt factory work if they are unable to obtain enough rare earth magnets. In the auto industry, rare earths are essential to electric vehicles because they allow a low-cost way to ensure motors operate at high speed. Okay, so this should not affect the production of Raptor Rs. Thank goodness. I was extremely worried. But so we might have to get most of those Mach-E owners into Raptor Rs.
Okay.
But
I don't think they're going to be mad at that.
That's something we have to. Yeah. If we have to do it, we have to do it.
We have to do it.
In the auto industry, rare earths are essential to electric vehicles. President Trump struck a deal earlier this month for China to resume granting licenses to export rare earth magnets. The agreement, which has a 6-month limit, is aimed at allowing China to retain its chokehold on the critical minerals that give it leverage in future trade negotiations. So, very, very rough. Anyway, how'd you sleep last night? Let's pull it up.
Praying. I got an 88, John.
Oh no, 82.
There we go.
You beat me. Oh,
I did.
Jordy's back on top.
I'm back.
After a while.
I'm back.
What happened to me? I guess I stayed up too late or something. I was in my sweet spot. Oh, I guess I didn't fall asleep until 11, 12. Rough.
There you go.
Got to go to bed earlier.
I'm back on the horse.
Yeah.
I'm back on the horse.
It's okay.
It should be a competitive week. I'm excited to see how it. We got to start putting something on the line.
Yeah.
Like the loser on Friday gets no caffeine and nicotine the whole stream.
And they'll be sleep deprived too. That's double duty. That's extra hard. I don't know if that's possible.
That would be torture.
Anyway, our first guest is coming in the studio in 10 minutes. Let's take you through a beautiful obituary to the founder of FedEx, Fred Smith. So Ryan Peterson posted a photo of the original FedEx plane. He said, RIP to logistics legend and outspoken defender of free trade, FedEx founder Fred Smith, who passed away today. Below is the first ever FedEx plane, which you can see at the Air and Space Museum Annex next to Dulles Airport in Virginia. Look at that. He must have been so stoked when he bought this. Like, his business was finally growing that he could own his own plane.
Imagine how many likes he would have gotten on social media posting that pic.
Yeah. Everyone's like, this is your flex.
You just had to appreciate
You're
it.
just trying to go viral. This is Cluely.
This is Cluely for logistics.
This is Cluely for logistics.
Total legend.
Yeah.
Max,
like burning VC dollars on a plane. Bear
I think
signal.
he was using Vegas dollars.
I think he was doing cash flow, yeah. Anyway, Max Meyer has a story that we should read through. Fred Smith, An American Life. He says, Fred Smith died on Saturday. He was the founder of Federal Express, which became FedEx, one of the largest logistics companies on earth. Smith was an entrepreneur in the truest sense of the word and an American patriot. He bent reality and created something entirely new, and he ran toward an extremely difficult problem. The fruits of Fred's work are as follows. If you give a box or document to FedEx by 6 p.m., you can have it delivered almost anywhere in the United States or Canada by 8 a.m. the next morning. Sick.
Imagine how key that would have been to business before the internet.
Incredible, yeah.
You're trying to do deals?
If you give FedEx a package on a Monday, it can be in Paris by Wednesday morning or in Shanghai by Thursday for a few $100s. Most of us take overnight delivery for granted, but take a step back, and the fact that we can essentially airdrop physical packages anywhere in the world is mind-boggling. Smith's death is a reminder not to take the miracles of modern life for granted. They were built by people like Fred Smith. These are a few words about the man himself and the dazzling system that is FedEx. Frederick Wallace Smith was born in 1944 in Mississippi. Fred's grandfather, James Buchanan Smith, captained Mississippi River steamboats. Fred's father, James Frederick Smith, was the founder of the Smith Motor Coach Company, which would go on to become Dixie Greyhound Lines after an acquisition in 1931. From steamboats to buses to jumbo jets in 3 generations, the family stayed on the cutting edge of motorized transportation. In 1925, the elder Smith, seeking to create the transportation line out of Memphis, converted a truck into a small bus and drove it himself. Within a few years, James Smith had dozens and dozens of coaches. By the time he died suddenly in 1948, he commanded over 200. Wow. So he died 4 years after the son was born. Wow. So he basically grew up without a, or maybe that's the grandfather. According to James Smith's obituary, No, he's the dad. Yeah. So according to James Smith's obituary, those 200 coaches each came to a halt during their regularly scheduled routes for 1 minute when the funeral began. The young Fred was just 4 when his father died. Wow. In 1962, the young Smith enrolled at Yale University, where he was fraternity brothers with future President George W. Bush. Bush asked Smith to serve as the Secretary of Defense twice, and Smith declined twice. Wow.
Interesting, because defense is who was the founder that we had on the show? I'm completely blanking on his name, the name of the company, and who invested in the company. But he had this defense-focused supply chain management startup.
Yes.
It was one of our probably first.
You're talking about Rune Logistics.
Rune.
Yes.
But something he said about
not the AI poster.
The legendary poster.
Not the legendary poster. The logistics company
of OpenAI.
Yes. The young Smith was a member of the infamous Cloak and Dagger secret society.
He is not beating the
secret society deep state allegations. It was at Yale that he wrote his first paper about his concept for using airplanes to deliver packages with a hub and spoke system. Wow. He's like, I got an idea. I got a business plan. I just need somebody to build it for me. i.e. that instead of point-to-point package transport, everything would be brought to a single hub by air and then redistributed. We talked to somebody about this on the show, how now we think of it as like inefficient to bring everything to one place and then do the hub and spoke thing, because now we have DoorDash and Waymo and
last mile,
all these different last mile solutions. But at the time, this was revolutionary. Everything would be brought to a single hub. Repeat that cycle every night while turning a profit, and you have a viable system for overnight delivery. The paper is said to have earned an average grade roasted. In 1966, the founder of FedEx graduated from Yale and volunteered to receive a commission in the Marine Corps. He served 2 tours in Vietnam. Wow. For his service in Vietnam, the President Nixon decorated Smith with a Silver Star and a Bronze Star. The Silver Star citation read, in part, unhesitatingly rushing through the intense hostile fire to the position of heaviest contact, Lieutenant Smith fearlessly removed several casualties from the hazardous area and, shouting words of encouragement to his men, directed their fire upon the advancing enemy soldiers, successfully repulsing the hostile attack. Moving boldly across the fire-swept terrain to an elevated area, he calmly disregarded repeated North Vietnamese attempts to direct upon him as he skillfully adjusted artillery fire and airstrikes upon the hostile positions to within 50 meters of his own location. Wow.
What a legend.
And continued to direct the movement of his unit. Wow, what a badass.
So at this point, he's 1973, he's 29 years old. He lost his dad at 4. He goes to Yale with George Bush, then goes to Vietnam, does 2 tours, gets a silver and a bronze star.
It's crazy.
War hero.
Yeah.
And now he's decided to launch Federal Express in Memphis. Smith had studied military procurement and been working on the idea for nearly 10 years after writing the Yale paper. So he writes this paper, and he's like, okay, 10 years later.
Most founders have an idea and they pivot in 2 months.
So he writes this paper,
He's worked on
gets
it
an
for a
average
decade.
grade.
This is like
10
Nike.
years later.
This is the same thing
10
with
years
Nike.
later.
Yeah.
The company launched with a fleet of 14 French Dassault jets, which delivered a few hundred packages on their first day of service. There we go.
Wow.
He's just 0 to 1.
Yeah.
According to FedEx lore, Smith named his new service Federal Express because he hoped to attract the attention of the Federal Reserve Bank, a prospective customer.
Yeah, moving
It
money
is
around.
funny, like the name you would think Federal Express, you would just assume that it's an extension of the government.
I did when I was a kid. I was like, oh,
pretty
United Postal Service,
But
USPS,
even as a kid, you realize
United States
that
Postal Service. These are all the
using
same thing.
FedEx, like it was just a better product experience than USPS. So
Totally.
even as a kid, you kind of
Feel it out.
feel it out. The system that Smith had conceived at Yale worked. It really worked, and nothing like it existed. The USPS existed principally to deliver letter mail and didn't have aircraft. UPS was a giant of a ground delivery throughout the U.S. Federal Express, though, would specialize in rapid air delivery. Just 5 years after the first Federal Express flights, the company was listed on the New York Stock Exchange.
Wow.
Today, the FedEx fleet consists of nearly 700 aircraft and about 200,000 vehicles, and FedEx employs half a million workers around the world.
Wow. Every night at the FedEx Super Hub at the Memphis International Airport, hundreds of jets land at the airport.
The Ultra Hub.
The Super Hub, bringing packages to its many sorting machines. A few hours later, the jets take back off to every corner of the United States and the world. At their destinations, the other half of the fleet awaits feeder aircraft to take packages to smaller airports and the FedEx Express trucks that take packages to their final destination.
The financial finesse needed to actually make a model like this, not just lose massive amounts of money.
You could go out of business so many times. And there is that story about him almost losing money, going to Vegas, and then putting the treasury on black and winning it back and doubling it and making payroll the next day, saving the company. Maybe apocryphal. There's been rumors that maybe it was some mob related thing, and he took a loan.
The tinfoil hat explanation is he
either way, he got it done.
He did some type of, and this is entirely internet speculation. It's probably not true, but it's possible that he was, needed a reason to have a bunch of cash, right?
Yep.
And maybe did something else. But the story is incredible, and it will live on.
Yeah.
Smith retired from FedEx in 2022 after almost 50 years leading the company. He is survived by 9 of his 10 children and his wife, Diane. His daughter, Winland Smith Rice, died in 2005 of a terminal cardiac condition. It's very sad. And one has to think that his father, Mr. Smith, who died with 200 vehicles to his name, would be impressed that his son died with 200,000 vehicles to his name and a fleet of jets to match. So incredible story, and may he rest in peace.
Anyway, let's move on to the timeline. Also, one of the greatest logos of all time, the FedEx logo, has that secret arrow in it. Love that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hidden
Once you
arrow.
see it, you can't, not this logo, the next logo, the more modern FedEx logo, has the secret arrow in there. Once you see that.
They're moving. They're
can't-
moving. And
can't
if
unsee
you
it.
want to understand more about Frederick Smith, go to Founders Podcast and listen to episode 151 on
And subscribe
FedEx.
to Arena Mag to read more of Max's writing. Check it out, arenamag.com. What else is
We
in here
have
that
a
we should
post
go
here
through?
from Gaurav Vora. He says, chat, remind me to check this again in a year. I wonder if he's saying he's throwing it in chat.
Yeah.
And saying, check this again in a year. This is a graph. It'll be kind of hard to read, but it's showing chatbots versus search engines, who's winning the traffic war, showing that
Google is getting 1.6 trillion total visits to ChatGPT's 50 billion, basically. So
and Google is
much,
down
much bigger.
1.4% year over year.
And ChatGPT is up 67%. Yeah, I mean,
It's a 34x gap today.
yeah.
AI chatbots drew 55. Isn't that wild? Though?
I wonder.
OpenAI accounts for, out of 55
Yeah.
billion visits, OpenAI accounts for 47.7 billion.
Yeah.
So users
81% of all chatbots is OpenAI. I feel like it's even higher now.
But it's crazy. So
They're
AI
running away with
chatbots
it.
are 2.96 of search engine traffic today. Verav is calling it, or wants to check back in a year.
Yep.
It's very possible we could see double-digit search engine traffic into chatbots.
Yeah, I do wonder if like site visits is even the correct metric here, because it's more like time on site and attention, because I'm pretty sure I Google things like for just 2 seconds, Google something. I will use Google as a calculator. And I won't go to ChatGPT for that. If I just have to multiply two numbers together, I'll just throw that in.
Oh, you're not a power user?
No, it's faster.
You don't.
It's all about the speed.
You don't believe in AI?
Yeah, exactly. I'm still like checking out this whole AI thing, starting to learn about it. But yeah, I think the more relevant metric is actually total user minutes, like how much mind share is going on. Because when I'm probably in ChatGPT longer than I'm in Google, but I might be hitting more page views on Google than ChatGPT queries, because I might throw a deep research query and then spend 10 minutes reading
Chatting
it.
back and forth
I'm
with
very
it.
rarely
That's interesting.
throwing a Google search out and then reading the blue links for 10 minutes. That's just not how it works. So anyway.
Also interesting to think about how they're counting visits, right?
Yep.
You're having this conversation with ChatGPT where oftentimes you're repeatedly running new hits, right, against Google. So
anyway, we have our first guest in the studio, Cremieux. Welcome to the stream.
there he is, looking
Hey,
handsome as ever.
How you guys?
going on?
How you doing?
Doing well. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we
Yes.
can hear you fine.
Perfect.
I'm looking forward to a future date when we can potentially see your face. But for now, your avatar looks
Soon.
great. Soon? Okay, I'm looking forward to it. We wanted to have you on to chat about a couple things. What's going on in GLP-1 world, reaction to the Hims and Hers breakup. Jordy, where would you like to start?
High level update on the GLP-1 market.
Yeah, I guess, it's this miracle drug that we keep on learning about new diseases or problems that it can treat. It seems like it can't just stop. We got the diabetes, then weight loss, then maybe gambling addiction and other stuff. Well, walk us through how people are using, or how doctors are prescribing GLP-1s for various conditions, and what's most promising, what's on the horizon, and what you're tracking next.
Yes, I'm actually really glad you asked this right now, because right now the ADA, the American Diabetes Association conference, is ongoing, and it seems like every other presentation is about GLP-1s. They are just talking about all the latest advances. Just yesterday, Amgen showed off a once monthly instead of once weekly injectable. Eli Lilly showed off an amazing combo therapy with an inhibitor called bimagrumab. It's a very weird name that makes people not lose any muscle when they're on the drugs. They've been showing off just incredible advances all week. They've been showing off new treatments for like different conditions and whatnot. There are increasingly many indications that these drugs are getting approved for. In December, tirzepatide was approved for sleep apnea. There's osteoarthritis indications incoming. There might even be, there's some effort being put into people trying to do something for cancers as well, because it does seem to help with obesity-related cancers, and it seems to help for, I don't know why, with hematological cancers, the blood cancers. I don't understand really the mechanism behind that, but it seems like it's just hitting every single indication now.
Wow.
Why do you think that is? I have some guesses.
I think the big reason has to do less with the direct effects of GLP-1s and more with the fact that obesity sucks. Obesity is just really, really bad. It affects so many different systems. It makes your health worse on so many different levels. And the things that lead to obesity are also quite bad, like the bad diet, the bad habits, the not moving around very much. It's actually interesting. A lot of people, after they've been on these drugs for a little while, they decide to move around more. They become more likely to go to the gym. They report that their physical functioning has improved. It turns out that getting fat has made them get to the point where they are no longer looking to be active. And so they just kind of fall into a hole. practically everything is improved, I think, for that reason. And there are some improvements that are due to direct effects of the drugs. This has, like, for example, this one is major adverse cardiac events, major adverse cardiovascular events. Those seem to be reduced in number immediately after starting the stuff, which suggests that there's a mechanism that's pretty direct. And this mechanism is also independent of weight loss. So that seems to be how that works. Same with chronic kidney disease.
Are you looking, I feel like the sort of biohacker alternative health world has for a long time, talked about cancer being, this metabolic disease. Do you think that could be a factor in why it could show some promise in treating various types of cancers?
Yeah, I think it does makes a lot of sense in that direction for the obesity related ones, but I don't think it makes sense. So years ago, there were people who suggested, I think quite wrongly, replacing certain cancer therapies with fasting because it seems to augment the effects of cisplatin-based therapies and stuff. And that didn't really hold up very well. It was a bunch of theory work that didn't go anywhere. And I don't think that this would help through those purported mechanisms, which again, I don't really believe in. I really think it's mostly just cutting down on, for example, the number of cells you have, or well, not really a number of cells you have, but like the activity of being fat. It's just you're not as big of a person. You have less opportunity for cancer to really hit you when you are
Smaller.
Yeah, smaller. It's like how short people tend to live longer than everything else.
Bad for
Yeah,
me.
bad for you.
Bearish for me. How much of the recent like advances in GLP-1 indications or recent like benefits have been just looking at all the people that are taking GLP-1s for weight loss or diabetes and then seeing a secondary effect in the population that's actually running the drug versus a new double-blinded trial for a different indication? Are both things happening, or are these drugs diffuse enough that you can just look at the overall population and get an idea of what's happening?
Yeah, so for FDA-approved indications like obstructive sleep apnea, you do have to run additional trials, but they are seeing that these things are possible from their trials, or seeing these things are possible from the literature, and they're running based on that. So in some cases, they do see these secondary endpoints. In fact, obesity is an example of this. Back in the day when they first introduced these drugs, back around 2005 or so, the CEO of Novo Nordisk at the time actually said, and I quote, "Obesity is primarily a social and cultural problem. It should be solved by means of a radical restructuring of society. There is no business for Novo Nordisk in that area," referring to obesity.
Wow.
Yeah. So their scientists had to push for about a decade to go, hey, you should look at the weight loss data. It's really impressive. And then they finally did it. And now we have weight loss drugs.
Yeah, that is wild. What concerns you? What's the catch? It seems somebody,
is it too good to be true?
Yeah, somebody might say, is it too good to be true? We're running this sort of massive experiment on huge swaths of the population right now. Seems to be many positive indicators, but what are kind of red flags that you think people should be kind of looking out for, or the scientific community should be wary of broadly from your point?
Yeah. So I think that physicians need to be careful about prescription. And they already are. They don't tend to prescribe this to people who are very skinny. But the fact that this stuff is available through the gray market very easily without prescription for very, very cheap, unfortunately I've contributed to that, has led to a lot of people.
In what way? You mean just...
I made a guide to doing this, and a few thousand people actually paid me $8 a piece to see all the details on it. And now I have a few thousand people who, unprompted, I didn't tell them to do this, message me their weight loss progress and such. So through writing this guide a few months ago, I've led to almost 12,000 pounds of weight loss. And that's just what's been reported to me. Not everybody's telling me all the results.
And is that at a high level, people just finding pharmacies that will compound the drug for them? What does that actually look like?
So what it looks like is buying from China. So you are ordering from a Chinese factory. You are testing the purity of the stuff and finding, it's 99.9%. I can use it, and then using all of that. It is not sold by Novo Nordisk, Eli Lilly, or any other major company working on these drugs. It's just from some Chinese company that is ripping them off.
So is that patent infringement? We've been seeing that kind of go back and forth. Like Hims and Hers was able to compound because there was a shortage.
I would
There's
love to
also
see Novo Nordisk
that news
go to
about
the
Eli
CCP
Lilly
and say, "Hey, can you please knock this off?"
Yeah, I mean, they could do
you know.
import bans or seize the packages at the ports. Like that's the design of this. You can't just buy a knockoff iPhone and have it delivered through the port of Los Angeles. Like if a whole truckload comes through, they should stop that, but it's clearly not happening.
So right now, the FDA allows this to happen because they have an exemption for research chemicals. You're technically not supposed to use these things, but everybody knows that everybody uses them. It's just how it is.
They're researching
And-
weight loss on
Yeah, I'm
themselves.
researching.
And of what I'm
Research maxing.
I'm doing
Yeah, so you were
researching.
saying the potential red flags or things to be wary of is around what about the prescription activity concerns you?
Mostly abuse. Not really prescription activity as so much as the abuse. There are people who are obtaining these drugs. There are people who are getting other people to get the prescriptions. There are people who are not really visiting doctors. They're using telehealth services to get prescriptions, and they are not in need of them.
But
They don't
why
need
would
to lose
someone
weight.
abuse this? This doesn't feel like something that has like the euphoria associated with a stimulant.
So the concern I think would be somebody has
testosterone
body
or something.
dysmorphia.
You-
They're already
is that what's going on?
really skinny.
Yeah.
And they think they
Unfortunately,
just be skinny.
I've met a few dozen women now who have taken these drugs and been
Yep.
around 120, 130 pounds,
Sure.
normal height.
Yep.
And now they're around 100, and they
Okay.
they don't look good anymore. They look like they're aging very quickly. They look unfortunate, and it's sad to see that they're
Yeah, it's
using
bad.
these drugs when they didn't even need them in the first place.
Interesting.
The same
It's
negative
actually-
effects of actual starvation.
yeah.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
makes sense.
You start getting really bad, harmful effects. You probably are eating at that point more lean mass than fat mass. It is quite
Yep.
bad.
Yep. That makes sense. Yeah, that's always the risk. Interesting.
How are you? What was your reaction to the Hims Novo Nordisk partnership
Dust
blow
up.
up?
So I actually think this was a big failure on Novo Nordisk's part. It seems as though what they did was they partnered with Hims in order to catch them. My understanding is that Hims has been selling a little too much, more than they've been supplied by the person producing the drugs, which is interesting. I guess
Oh,
we'll get more
interesting.
details relatively soon if the
So you're
lawsuits
saying
commence and all that.
theoretically, Wegovy gives them 1 million doses, and then Hims is somehow selling 1.2 million doses of Wegovy. Is that what you're?
Yeah,
alleging?
something like that. They're either compounding it themselves or ordering from something from China. They are doing something, and I don't know if that will hold up or show up in trial. It's an accusation. So I guess it's alleged, but we'll see. We'll see.
What about Hims' general position that patients should have as much choice as possible, as much access, access at different price points, things like that?
They are completely correct to do that. I think that Hims providing different dosages than are provided by Novo Nordisk is a wonderful thing. There are people who can get legitimate uses out of sort of microdosing this stuff because it gets rid of noise. I've met many, many people now, and this is an increasingly common thing, it seems. I really don't know how far this is going to go, but a lot of people who are microdosing this because it helps with their ADHD. Their ADHD is like the pathological end of food-based distraction. They're not losing weight from this anymore, but they are just using it in order to not think about food at all. It gets rid of that nagging feeling in the back of their head, and they can focus on work.
Yeah, I did a 24-hour dry fast from Friday night to Saturday night.
Yeah.
And all day Saturday, I was shocked at how much time I was just thinking about food and water, wanting food and water. And it was very freeing to some degree because I was like, well, I'm just not having any until around dinner time. But so many points throughout the day, my mind was just going to, I should go get a little tasty drink from the fridge. I should.
I'm not addicted. I'm not
addicted to water.
I'm not addicted to water and food.
I'm not beating the water addiction allegations.
Yeah.
Big water guy. What else are you tracking right now broadly? Any reactions to the NIH funding?
Oh yeah, 40%. We had Andrew Huberman on the show. He was breaking it down for us and what's going on with Jay Bhattacharya. What's your take on the cuts that have been proposed?
So I don't know how much I should reveal about that. There's a lot of really good things coming. There might be some interesting developments there very soon. I'm especially hopeful about. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. Just there'll be good news there soon. There'll be some changes.
I
I'm
guess.
not gonna say too much.
I guess zooming out, like what does good look like to you? Are you generally in favor of taxpayer-funded independent
Every American gets a
research?
$10,000 biohacking budget annually that they can buy
some
research
people would
chemicals
say,
with.
Biohacking vouchers.
Yeah, I mean, some people would say, like, the big pharma companies are profitable. They should bear this expense, not the American taxpayer.
So they're not profitable enough. They have troubles with R&D.
Yep.
That public money is very, very useful. We need more public funding than we currently have.
Yeah, when you actually look at biotech returns, just looking at the asset class, the logical thing to do would just be to invest elsewhere, and that was with historical levels of public funding that kind of contributed to those returns to some degree.
Yeah, we have a dearth of funding at the moment, and we need to increase it. We need to improve the allocation and also increase the amount. There's really no way around it. If we want to keep making progress, you just have to throw more money at these things, and I think we will start doing that very shortly. These cuts are a little alarming to start, but they are not the end of the discussion. Remember, it's still only 5 months into this presidency, and they have a lot of really big plans. They have a lot of trouble getting appointees through the Senate, and they have a hiring freeze ongoing right now that is interminable. We don't know when it's going to end, but once that is over, they'll be issuing NPRMs left and right. It's going to be deregulatory like massacre. It's going to be wonderful.
Wow.
Well, that's a
what
white
else
pill.
is
That's
exciting
great.
to you in biotech right now?
Well, I wanted to say on the HIMSS point with the different pricing and whatnot, I think perhaps the most exciting thing right now in that area is that Novo Nordisk is run by idiots. Like they're very smart people, but they're just total idiots.
Hey, everybody misses the patent. What do? They
I think it
forgot
was
to
Eli Lilly, but they
no,
missed
no,
it.
this is Novo Nordisk.
Oh, there was
Yeah, it
Novo
was.
that lost the patent
Novo.
fee.
Yeah, they just
they forgot to
renew
pay
it.
the bill.
It was $450 or something.
Yes, it was $250, and then they missed it, and they were told you're 1 year out. You can pay a late fee, like an extra $200 late fee on it, and
They just didn't.
they still failed. Yes, it is amazing.
That's
So
wild.
that enables a wonderful, wonderful program that the FDA should pursue immediately. The FDA and the CMS have to collaborate on this. But it's the Section 804 importation program, and it allows individual U.S. states to import as much of the generic drugs or any other type of drug that's produced in Canada and has like an indication of proof here and whatnot as they want to reduce costs. So, for example, Florida will, whenever they get this actually going, have much cheaper EpiPens. They'll be able to lower the cost of their drugs by importing cheap generics from Canada. And because cheap generic Ozempic is going to be coming from Canada in 2026, every state can just jump on the program. And if we're giving if we're giving Americans $5 a week Ozempic, then we're going to see perhaps an end to the chronic disease crisis. We're going to see obesity tackled meaningfully. We're going to see people getting hot again and make America hot again. The real meaning of AHA.
The real meaning of
Oh,
AHA.
the real meaning of AHA. Let's
there we
go.
go. There we go. Inside baseball.
That's amazing.
Very exciting. Well, 15 minutes was not enough time.
Never
we should have you
enough.
back on again soon. Thank you for all the insights.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. We'll have you back on soon. This was great.
Absolutely. That's a
And
good one.
and if you dox yourself anywhere other than here, we will be very upset. So
Might have to.
Oh no!
have this on.
Sorry, guys.
I think
Yeah.
it
All right,
was
you
a
guys have a
plan.
good one.
all right,
We'll talk to you
cheers.
soon. Bye. Next up, we have Clement from Hugging Face coming into the studio. I believe he's here already. Very excited to talk to him. Fascinating business. We'll dig into artificial intelligence, open source, everything that's going on with
What
his
is the origin
business.
of the name Hugging Face?
What is artificial
It's
intelligence?
it's the emoji, I believe.
Yes. What is
What's
AI?
going
How
on?
you doing?
Welcome.
Hey, that's the emoji, like that, the hugging face emoji.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
but there's-
I'm an idiot.
Come
There's
on, you
more-
guys are giving me shit about the name with a name like that, TBPN.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not much
no.
better than hugging face.
No,
It's
no,
like,
I'm not
ChatGPT.
I'm not giving you shit. I just was wondering
just
the
is a fun
origins, and then
fact.
I just immediately see the obviously the icon.
But there's
emoji.
more to the name than that. It's an emoji, but it came because the product that you were building before this was related to that, right? You break that story down.
Yeah. When we started the company 8 years ago, we were
Yeah.
building some sort of an Tamagotchi AI, an
That's
AI
right.
girlfriend, a ChatGPT before ChatGPT.
There you go.
So very much kind of like an entertainment product.
Yep.
And so we picked the Hugging Face emoji because that's the one that we were using the most.
Yep.
We also had internally this joke that we wanted to be the first company to go public with an emoji instead of the 3-letter ticker, like on the NASDAQ.
Yep.
Still fingers crossed for that. I hope nobody's gonna go public with an emoji before us, and that they'll wait for us.
Yeah.
And then the community just
after
loved
them.
it and started to put it everywhere, put it on their clothes, on social networks everywhere. So we decided to keep it.
Yeah, the owning an emoji as a brand online, I think, is still an underrated strategy. We see it every once in a while. I've seen people use the different fruit emojis for different things, and there was a whole strawberry story tied to OpenAI and stuff. But when you can condense down, I mean, it's a coinage essentially. Like when you can own an emoji and have it say something, that's very powerful from a branding perspective.
You can even search with an emoji on Google and the App Store directly with the Hugging Face emoji.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to compete with the people that use the emojis for any other reason, and there's always the risk that somebody steals.
I bet their
emoji,
SEO is pretty solid.
But I think if you search the Hugging Face emoji, you're gonna wind up in the right place. But walk me through the business today. What? Give me an idea of the scale and kind of the core business model.
Yeah, so we're one of the most used platform for AI builders. We just crossed actually today 10 million AI builders using us. So it's mostly AI scientists.
Congratulations. 10 million. That's a ton.
10 million AI builders. So it's mostly AI scientists, AI engineers, software engineers, building models, training models, optimizing models, sharing models, data sets, apps. So there's a new repository. So it's model, datasets, apps created on Hugging Face every 10 seconds now.
Wow.
And the way we monetize, because you asked this question, is kind of like a pretty straightforward freemium model where most of the usage and the users are free, and then a small percentage are premium. Yep. And usually they become premium with premium features. So for example, enterprise features, when like a big company like Google, like NVIDIA are using us, obviously they need user management, security, stuff like that. Or when they need premium compute, right? So when they need more powerful GPUs or hardware to run some of the stuff they're doing on the platform. Yeah.
10 million AI developers. If you paid each one $100 million, which seems like the going rate these days, it's $2 quadrillion. It's a lot of money. Yeah. But I mean, even if you're paying reasonable rates, you're still up in the trillions of dollars for the total market. I mean, I would be interested to get your reaction. How have you been processing the news that the talent market for artificial intelligence researchers seems to be hotter than ever in history, and we're getting into NBA money for top researchers? Like, do you think this makes sense given where we are in the cycle? What has been your take overall?
Yeah, it's definitely harder than it's ever been, because when the CEO of OpenAI is saying that another company is paying more to get OpenAI employees, it's really like you reach the top, because historically, obviously, they've been kind of like the highest paying probably company ever in terms of packages. So when he's saying that they're getting beaten on packages, is quite phenomenal. I hope it's not going to continue too long, and there's going to be more kind of like almost democratization of skills of AI building. Otherwise, I think we'll end up in a quite weird world. One of my biggest focus is kind of like how to fight concentration of power, concentration of skills, concentrations of resources in AI. And I hope we can progressively move into a world where everyone can build AI and not just kind of like a few hundreds AI scientists. That'd be really great for me.
What is your interaction today with the various prompt to code tools? What are you most excited about? What is that space? Because that feels like kind of the entry point. Yeah. Somebody comes in and they're making software for the first time, and that can be maybe a gateway into exploring the whole ecosystem of Hugging Face and everything there.
It's super exciting, right? To empower more people to be builders. We actually released last week our MCP that is integrated into Claude, into ChatGPT that they announced actually, I think a few days ago, into Codex, into Cursor. So we integrated with all of these. We've got like a specific focus, which is not only to empower people to build like website or simple apps, kind of like the previous generation of apps, but trying to empower everyone to actually build AI models, right? Which becomes really, really exciting because it means that maybe everyone can start training, optimizing their own model that then they use themselves on their interface to kind of like keep building even more. So that's when you start to have kind of like maybe this flywheel in terms of AI progress. So that's kind of like our focus with the integration of Hugging Face MCPs with a lot of these tools.
On the open source question, kind of like the decentralization of power, what was your interpretation of the Anthropic news today that it was in fact fair use for them to train their models on, it was several 100,000 books or several 7 million books. I was kind of, optimistic that would happen, but also just it seemed like we clearly needed some sort of legal ruling here to understand this stuff. But how did you process it? Were you happy with the result?
Yeah, I think this is good news. Obviously, I think this ruling, they'll come and be different and specific depending on the use cases, because you have to look at not only, what's been used, but also how it's used. If it's kind of like transformational, if it's replacing, competing with the initial data sets. Yeah. What's been cool for open source is that I think by default, open source is fair use. So when someone releases kind of like a data set on Hugging Face, in my opinion, it's usually fair use because it's used for educational, for progress. If you look at kind of like when copyright was invented and designed, the main focus was not to prevent progress and learning, right? And education. You don't want to put like copyright rules that are limiting progress. And so I think in open source, most of the time when you release models or data sets in open source, it's fair use. So hopefully that is going to be kind of like a little bit more of the motivation for companies, especially in the US, who've used a little bit this argument not to release their models and the data sets, to do it a little bit more. Yeah. Because I think we really need it now. I don't know if you've seen yesterday the conference from Dylan from Semi-Analysis talking about kind of like the energy limitations in the US compared to China. Yeah. Something interesting there is that in addition to that, we're mutualizing way less in the US than in China, because in the US, most of the leading frontier labs are proprietary. And so they all do the same training runs. Oh, interesting. If you think of it, right? If you think of Anthropic, OpenAI, XAI, they all do almost the exact same $1 billion training runs. Yeah. Whereas in China, they're much more open, right? DeepSeek, for example. And so they mutualize compute and energy much, much more. So it's not only that they have more capacity, but also they use this capacity much better. So I think it's urgent that in the US we kind of like find solutions for that, not to create additional risks for the development of AI in the US. Yeah, it's kind of oddly become more monopolistic over there or something like that. It's kind of an odd outcome, but that certainly makes a lot of sense. On the training data sets that go out, what are you seeing on the video frontier? It feels like we've been kind of batting back and forth this idea that Google might have a really, really powerful sustaining advantage there because of the YouTube data set. You talk about 7,000 books. You can probably download that on a torrent somewhere if you're creative enough. You might be able to scrape it onto a single hard drive. We've heard about folks putting training data on hard drives, flying to Malaysia, doing a training run, flying back. You think about GitHub. All the code's basically been stolen at this point. Like, it's out there. Some of it's open source. Some of it's in, it's obtainable. It's much harder to get all of YouTube on a single hard drive and steal it, or even just have a scraper because, it's like hundreds of hours are getting uploaded every minute or something like that. So what are you seeing on the video training side in open source, closed source? How do you think that sub-market plays out in artificial intelligence? An interesting data point there is that on Hugging Face, there's almost 500,000 open data sets. Mm-hmm. With 1,000 new data sets added every day. Mm-hmm. And the fastest growing category is video data sets. And the reason why is because not only it's more of the focus for training, but also because I think we're starting to see more and more synthetic data sets on video that are starting to really work.
Yep.
Especially because the physics is starting to work on a lot of these video generation tools. It's not only used to create other video generation models, but it's also starting to be used, for example, in robotics. That we're also starting to see quite a strong growth to kind of like almost use the physics of the video as kind of like synthetic training to train robots, right?
Yep.
I think it's Musk who said a few weeks ago, like, in the future, we'll basically put a robot in front of a laptop watching YouTube videos. Maybe you could watch like shows like yours and basically learn from that. So it's exciting that maybe seeing this kind of like intersection of like video and robotics that might lead to kind of like some interesting results in the future.
They might be watching already. Who knows? On the video, I want to stay on the video training side. What makes for a great open source video training data set? I'm interested to hear how you processed the news of Meta acquiring Scale AI and the idea of the human defining what good data looks like. I'm familiar with what that process looks like in the RLHF world, in the LLM world. You're basically creating rubrics for grading answers to clear questions. Does this follow the right format? And then you might have the customer or the user give a thumbs up, thumbs down. Did this answer my question? In the video context, are you having a human watch a video and then tag it with text, or is there other metadata that's important? The physics thing seems harder to define. Basically, my question is just what makes for a great video data set?
I think it's still an open question. I think nobody really knows because it's quite early. And at the early days of cycles like that, you usually don't care so much about the quality of the data, but the quantity of the data, right? So I would say that what makes a great video data set today is its size, right? It's for it to be big. But progressively, similarly to what we've seen in text, as you're going to start to see more specific use cases, specialized models, when you're going to start to hit some sort of a wall on the data, you start to focus more on the quality of the data set, and then we'll learn how to make them better. One thing that we're seeing on Hugging Face, which is quite maybe not controversial but counterintuitive, is that actually it's not going to be just like one data set or one model, or not even kind of like a dozen data sets and dozen models. It's going to be kind of like millions of data sets and millions of models, just the same way you think about GitHub repositories and code repositories, where there isn't really kind of like one GitHub repository to rule them all, right? Like every company, every use case has its own kind of like specialized, customized code repository. One thing that we believe is that ultimately there's going to be millions of different models, millions of different data sets, and every single use case is going to be optimized, customized for its own use case.
Yeah, I feel like there's a little bit of tension there, though, between like if scale matters on the data sense side, how are you possibly betting on thousands of small open source data sets versus Instagram, YouTube? Yeah. Like it just feels like when I think about who's really going to dominate in the future of generative video, it's got to be the platforms that are ingesting every image and every video all the time, forever.
Yeah. In my mind, it's kind of like a timing thing. At the beginning, when we're starting on a cycle like video, we almost have to brute force our way into intelligence. And so, quantity matter.
Yep.
But progressively, as you want to optimize more, for example, when you want to optimize for costs, right? You start thinking, okay, how can I train a smaller model that is going to be faster, that is going to cost less money? Because, for example, if I want to do a banking customer support chatbot, I probably don't need it to tell me about the meaning of life, right? I just want it to tell me about my bank accounts. And so I can use kind of like a smaller, more customized model. So I think you'll see both phases in video a little bit the same way that you've seen both phases in text, where you started by the biggest models. And now OpenAI or Anthropic, when they release model, they don't really actually talk about the size of their models anymore. And I wouldn't be surprised if actually behind the hood, actually the size is going down. Because I think at some point you start to want kind of like optimized, customized, and that's when you start to see more models, more diversity, also of the data sets.
Yeah, this is the information efficiency thing. Like a human doesn't need 1 trillion hours of training to learn how to speak English. A kid can learn that in a couple of years. And so the algorithms eventually will get there. Jordy, do you have a question?
George Hotz was on the show last week talking about how he's been seeing venture-backed founders want to just check the open source box and basically say like, oh yeah, we're open source, just kind of because that's the cool thing to be. Are you seeing that too? Where do you think the line is?
Are you a beneficiary of that?
Yeah, we're seeing that. Even though I think there's still a way to go, especially for like big US tech companies. I think if you look, so I've been in AI for 8 years now, and if you look at the cycle like 2016 to like 2021, 2022, like the big tech companies in the US, they were doing so much more open science, open source. And in many ways, that's how the US got the leadership, because, Google releasing transformers and then the T of transformers becoming ChatGPT and kind of like building on top of each other. That's how you accelerate the progress and kind of like building on top of each other's. It has kind of like definitely slowed down if you look at the big tech companies in the US. But fortunately, I think startups are kind of like compensating and filling the void in a way. And I hope that, big AI companies in the US also will change a little bit, evolve a little bit. OpenAI, obviously, Sam Altman said that they would release an open source model at some point. So excited about that.
What are your expectations for that model? Do you have any predictions?
My expectations are quite high, just because of the history of OpenAI, right? When they tend to release something, they tend to release something quite good. So I hope and I suspect that they could release something quite transformational in open source. Hopefully, I've always said that, if we had like the equivalent of a DeepSeek, but in the US, it could be 10 times bigger than DeepSeek. So hopefully, if we can have something 10 times better, bigger, more impactful than DeepSeek, it would be fun, I guess.
Is that not Meta Llama? How do you describe what's going on at Meta right now?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's easy to dunk on Meta, right? But I think they're the most open big technology company in the US right now. They really changed the field with Llama. They really kind of like gave a tremendous boost to kind of like the open source community, and they still share a lot of their things in open source. I think open source is what brought them to the frontier, right? Like before they started to release in open source, they were quite far behind in terms of AI race, and now they're very much in the race, which is great. The fact that they haven't released something massive as a follow-up yet, to me, shows how hard it is to build at the frontier, right? It's not easy, even for a big technology company like Meta. And so I think that speaks to that. I'm excited to see all their new efforts, all the resources they're investing in AI right now, and hope that they can keep sharing with the community and open science and open source.
What was your reaction to Apple's announcements at WWDC around on-device intelligence or inference? Was that exciting to you? Do you think that's going to be a catalyst for more developer activity? And what are you seeing so far? I
think it's quite early, but quite excited about on device. I suspect that maybe you'll have a higher percentage of compute on device for AI than you did for software, just because of some of the need for speed, for privacy, and the constraints in terms of costs. Right? If you think of, ChatGPT on device, what's amazing is that it's totally free, right? Like you don't, compared to the really high cost that ChatGPT has right now, not only for the customers, but also for OpenAI to run. it's totally private in the sense that you can say anything and nobody's gonna see what you're seeing, and potentially it could be quite fast. So I'm excited about on device. It's early, especially in the technology side. I think there aren't a lot of on devices that really make it okay to run some of the great models, but it's progressing really fast, and can't wait to see what's happening in this domain in the next few months.
That's a pretty huge switch because it's basically 0% on device right now for AI inference. And if you're predicting that it's going to go beyond 50%, that's a huge shift. I mean, I have a follow-up.
Super excited about robotics too. It's kind of like a little bit of a segue from on device, but we organized a weekend ago what has turned out to be the biggest hackathon for open robotics that thousands of people participated in from over 100 different locations, and built kind of like open source robots. And we definitely kind of like seeing something happening there, kind of like the conjunction of like cheap hardware, open source, plus kind of like new capabilities for AI could be kind of like the perfect combination for some sort of a ChatGPT moment for robotics.
Do you think it's a straight shot to humanoids, or do you think that we'll see kind of a Cambrian explosion of Nat Friedman core bots that, you know, will pick up a single leaf at a time and are more use case specific? Are we going straight to generalizable? Because that was the ChatGPT moment. I feel like there were great, you know, machine learning models for ad inference and recommendation algorithms. Like we had AI, but it was very narrow. ChatGPT was very broad. Which one do you think is coming first, and what are the relative timelines?
A good question. I'm not sure, to be honest. I think it's still undecided.
Yeah.
I hope it's more future of more like a diverse robots, diverse kind of like models. But I'm obviously kind of like biased on this because I think if you only have like one type of black box robots at your home, that's kind of like in like millions of houses, is kind of like a scary world. But it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell at the moment, I think.
What are key breakthroughs that you're looking for this year? Any kind of predictions, new catalysts, that kind of thing? You have a crystal ball in the office?
I wish I had a crystal ball. I'm kind of like bored with text and chatbots right now. I think there are a lot of people working on it, and we've kind of like reached this point where it's a very
don't say plateau.
Low,
don't say plateau.
No, not plateau, but incremental, very incremental improvements that are a little bit boring. So I'm much more excited.
We can still invest billions of dollars in it, right?
Yes,
it's fine. Yes. We can definitely still deploy.
yeah. So I'm more excited about harder domains, like you were talking about biotech just before.
Yeah.
Biology, chemistry. These domains are super exciting. Today, I don't know if you've seen Arc Institute released a cell perturbation prediction model on Hugging Face and on GitHub, which I'm super excited about. I think it's obviously if you can predict kind of like the perturbation and the evolution of the cells, especially when they react to drugs and things like that, it can have quite a big impact in terms of drug design and things like that. So really excited about these kinds of things, more kind of like biology, chemistry, and how to apply AI there.
How much economic value do agents create internally at Hugging Face? On
quite
a monthly basis?
Quite a lot. So we have this thing called Spaces, which is our kind of like AI app store, where it is like over 500,000 open AI apps that people are building. And it's integrated with our MCP framework, so you can add that in your chatbot, and that's kind of like the most used thing internally at Hugging Face, where People are going to use Cursor or ChatGPT and kind of like call some of these more specialized AI apps to do kind of like specialized tasks for them. It's hard to put a number of it on it, but yeah, it's quite transformational, of course.
Do you think we're going to have this period where, like, do you find it kind of fascinating that you guys are getting a lot of value out of agents internally, and that like what do you think agent adoption will look like in businesses? Because it feels like I don't know how rapid it feels right now. It's rapid in the bubble that we're in. People are trying a lot of stuff, but maybe they're churning quickly as well. So I'm curious what you think adoption will look like.
Well, I mean, I think ultimately agent and AI are kind of like a similar evolution of the same trends, right? And I think in terms of user interface, they're actually going to merge, and I'm not sure there's going to be so many kind of like different ways of interacting with AI and agent.
Yeah.
But they're going to definitely go mainstream just because of the very nature of a product like ChatGPT that has already gone mainstream, and where I'm sure kind of like OpenAI will bring more and more agentic workflows into. So yeah, I think it's definitely going to go mainstream faster than anything we've seen before. Now the question will be, do you use a very complex agentic workflow 1% of the time for 1% of your queries, or for 10%, or for 50%, or for 90%? And I think we'll see that based on the development of the technology and the capabilities. I think if the agents are much better than kind of like a series of queries, then I'll use that. And if not, I'll stay on my past way of kind of like doing simple queries.
Totally.
Last question for me. Now that Meta owns something like 49% of Scale AI, the budget for data generation has to be significant at Meta. Is there a specific data set that you'd like to see Meta harness Scale AI to produce and then open source?
I mean, I think biology, chemistry data sets are still very much lacking.
Is there like a more specific example, like within biology or chemistry, like what would you actually use an army of humans to go and categorize? Would you need biologists and like PhD, postgrad type work, or are we talking about something that someone could do even with just like a basic skill set?
I think it's an open question. I don't really know, to be honest. I think if we knew what would be kind of like the ideal data set there, we would build it ourselves, because we also built some data sets ourselves.
That's certainly the story of AlphaFold,
yeah,
right?
I would
they
focus,
had a fantastic data set for AlphaFold, and then they were able to do reinforcement learning against it, and that's what really solved that incredibly hard challenge. So if you don't have the data,
but my main point would be, maybe to focus a little bit less on just text and just chatbots, and kind of like focus a little bit more on other domains. I think that's when you're gonna kind of like unleash a lot of the additional impact and a lot of the, I think, positive use cases for the technology too.
Totally. Well, thank you so much for joining. This was fun. Appreciate all your
insights.
Thanks
for having me.
And hopefully have you on again soon.
Sounds good.
We'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much. Let's go back to the timeline while we wait for our next guest to join. Unusual Whales says Deloitte's U.S. employees can now buy $1,000 of Lego on the company's dime to boost their well-being. We're already doing that.
Let's give it up for Deloitte.
We get
this is
free
what
Lego
employee
sets
wellness
now.
Looks like.
Yes. Challenges.
It's not just policies in a PDF somewhere.
It's not a gym membership.
It's Legos on the table.
Yes, Legos on the table.
You're in a meeting, you're stressed out, just start making Legos. Right?
It looks like Tyler over on the intern cam has a few Lego sets that have been sent to us.
There we go.
Our Anduril Lego set build out was fantastically successful. Tyler did it in 1 hour and a half?
Current record holder.
I think it was 119.
Who's counting now?
Current record holder.
Current record
World
holder.
champion.
And walk us through what companies sent you stuff. What will you be building next?
Yeah, so first we have the Epirus. This is
Epirus.
Epirus.
Okay.
Sorry.
Got a little counter drone system going there.
That's awesome.
This one looks like a lot of fun, and then the other one is from Solugen.
Solugen. Very cool. It's a bioforge.
Molecule factory.
Yeah. Very exciting.
Now,
Everybody should have a
we'll come back to you
molecule
later
factory.
because our guest is here. But I want to know, because it seemed like Anduril went straight to the Lego factory and had a design document and guidelines. Those look like they don't even have instructions. So I want you to dig into those and see. I want new estimates for how long you think that'll take you.
Okay.
Cool.
Good luck.
Anyway,
He's like, not another legacy. Please.
I can't possibly.
Please.
Do it.
I thought
that was good.
I thought I would be.
I thought that was good
software
viral
engineering
bait. Anyway, we have Emmett Shear in the
Lego-
studio. Oh, you have Lego set. What do
Lego
you have?
sets. Lego sets are the new hot swag. I got this from I guess it's from Fluid Stack. They sent me
Okay.
like these like GPUs you can build out of Legos.
Oh, that's awesome.
They made themselves. I think they're like knockoffs. I don't think it's actually Lego.
Okay, yeah. There's
everybody's
probably a
knocking
couple
off
different
Lego.
companies that you can
But
go
like
to
I think
get
that's like
Lego
the
sets.
that is the hot new swag is like making Lego kits of your stuff. Especially if you're a hardware company.
Well, yeah. I mean, are we going to get a softmax Lego set? What would you build?
How do you build a Lego set of a neural net? I mean, that would be pretty cool if you could like get a Lego Technic.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, I've
neural
seen
net
people
thing
draw
going.
out the neural nets and the different
Yeah.
weights in on like a whiteboard. So it could be like a whiteboard of Legos with circular pieces and lines.
I'm thinking like one of those Lego Technique, like Lego
Yeah.
Technic that has all the gears and stuff.
Yes.
Like you turn the crank and
that would be very cool.
That would be so cool. Like,
yeah,
that's
you could put in like a red ball and it could classify it or something as
Right,
red.
yeah,
Yeah, or blue
When
and it triggers the blue
Yeah.
node, the neuron fires.
Yeah, when I have lots of extra time, I will go design in Lego neural net as our piece of swag. Until I think it may take a little while.
That would be raising the bar. Yeah, break it down to us. What is the day in the life like for you now? It sounds like you're extremely focused on this one new company, right?
Yeah, it is a mix of maybe like 3 or 4 things. So I said,
Sure.
a bunch of operational work where basically, typically being a CEO, there's hiring and talking to people and all those things. This feels like it's not.
You're good.
No, you look good.
You look great.
Much better. And then there's research, and I'm actually like reading papers and trying to keep up with what's happening in machine learning because like it is changing all the time. And there's
But wouldn't
keeping
you
up with
just
stuff
drop?
happening inside the
Couldn't you
company.
just get those summarized pretty quickly with an LLM? Just pull out the key points.
It turns out that process itself takes time too. Like you have to tell the
still have to do
LLM,
it.
you have to give it feedback. You have to I use deep research extensively for this, but
Yeah.
it's still like you have to actually onboard the information. Having a
Totally.
summary.
Yeah, you got to have it quiz you too. You
I'm,
have to have it quiz
I'm
you.
like
and then-
public enemy number 1 on this. I'll have deep research, spend 20 minutes researching a topic, and then I'm like, actually, I don't have time to read that. Summarize it in 3 bullet points. Like I learned nothing about that topic. It's brutal.
I spent a fair amount of time doing that.
Cool.
And then there's some amount of like actual like working on trying to solve the problems, like research or engineering, or I actually don't get the right code. It's too involved now, but helping the team or people working on one of the actual core problems we're facing.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of this, to be honest, a lot of trying to get the word out about what we're doing and talking about it. And I think that's sort of the four main things I'm doing.
Yeah. What's the near-term goal? What business model do you have in mind? What problems do you want to solve? Kind of like, what's the pitch?
So Softmax is dedicated to discovering the principles of alignment and scaling it for everyone, so that everybody, for all of humanity. But we're really on the first part of that, which is discovering the principles of sort of the science and engineering of alignment, because it's one thing to want to scale something, but until you actually can replicate it in a lab consistently, the idea that you're going to scale it is a little bit ridiculous, right? It's quite putting the cart before the horse, in my opinion. So what we're focused on right now is multi-agent reinforcement learning research, where we run simulations with lots of little agents and run experiments on them to figure out how they act. And when we say agents, we don't mean like large language model agents. We mean like reinforcement learning agents, like the tiny little ones that you remember from the 80s.
Yeah.
And that's turns out to turn into a lot of reinforcement learning infrastructure because it turns out that there isn't a lot of great reinforcement learning infrastructure out there especially for like big multi-agent simulations with lots of little agents. That's not a scenario that people have built out to the scale that we think is required. So actually, our work today is focused on that.
Do you think another founder might say, I'm going to just build picks and shovels here, I'm going to just build that infrastructure and try to sell it to other people?
I mean, if we build something we think is really awesome, maybe we will sell it to other people. Maybe that's to your question about the business model. We're a research company, which means like right now, it's sort of like if you're a drug research company, like a pharma company, you don't know, your business model is, well, we'll discover something awesome and then we'll figure out how to sell it.
Yep.
So we're still kind of in that groove. We'll discover something awesome. But I'm commercial enough to believe that if I make something that's really useful for us, we'll probably sell it, or give it away or something.
What are the problems with the reinforcement learning infrastructure right now? Because as I understood it, it was like when you do some massive training run, GPT 4.5, something like that, that's where you're trying to get the massive data center that's all in one place. You got to go to Memphis or you got to go to Texas, build something massive. But the reinforcement learning stuff, it feels like it can be a little bit more ambient, a little bit more distributed. You're generating data here and there, maybe on a smaller rack. It doesn't need to be as much as inference heavy on like a single chip. I don't know. My understanding was maybe that like the reinforcement paradigm was actually maybe a requirement of the wall that we've kind of hit on the pre-training scaling side, but also like kind of a gift.
So I think I think that's exactly right. I think it's, oh no, did I get cut out?
No, you're good. Are you there?
Am I still online? Hello?
You're frozen.
We can hear you,
but you're
frozen.
Oh no.
This is the hardest part.
Am I like
bringing the future,
connected?
the Zoom calls, the internet infrastructure is still lagging behind. We will have AGI
My
before.
connection is unstable.
Oh no.
Brutal that we can hear every word perfectly, right?
Maybe I should.
You could also just turn off your video and
I'm
we
off
can
my
put an
video.
image up.
Is it
Let's just
working
put
now?
let's just have the production team to put an image up. They're going to work on that. But let's just talk for a minute.
Try.
Oh, can you hear us? Oh no, he can't hear us. Oh no. This is brutal. Oh well, let's take a second.
AGI
to tell you about
around the corner.
Yerba mate.
The first thing
keep you.
we're going to ask superintelligence to do, great video calls, please. Stable video calls on any Wi-Fi
All right.
connection.
I'm on my phone now.
Okay, can you hear us?
With the,
Can you hear us?
with the Wi-Fi. I think we're good to go.
Okay, awesome.
Yes.
Let's do it.
We're back.
That was a great question, by the way.
Yes.
You're
Okay,
right.
kick us
RL
off.
is a very different paradigm for training, and that has been the direction people have been going. And yeah, the challenge isn't the same. The challenge with doing the transformer training runs for large language models is all about how do you scale up parallelism across but it's all kind of offline, right? Like at the end of the day, like the output of the model doesn't determine what happens next in the training. And so it's like this, it's all about streaming the right data and the right sequences out to it, but it's very much like a pipeline, right? Whereas with multi-agent RL, your environment is incredibly non-stationary. Every action you take determines your future observations in a way that is totally not like, could be completely non-predictable. And learning off of stale data is like almost worthless because it doesn't tell you anything about what your current behavior is. It just tells you what your current behavior was. And so you're scaling up online learning in a big way.
Yep.
And that's a very different challenge. I think the other thing that's very different is when you're trying to do multi-agent reinforcement learning, if you have our goal, which is very much to drive social learning where the agents can learn to interact with each other, your biggest enemy is actually convergence. So most people are in machine learning, they're trying to converge their model. Like that's the goal. And I was talking to some people from some guys from Anthropic about this, and I was like, we're trying to we try to avoid converging our model. And they were like, I'm really good at that. I'm like, yeah, no, I know that like it's a joke because it's easy to like it's easy to have your model diverge in a bad way, but it's actually really hard to set up a model that is converging but not converged, and to keep it in that converging but not converged state as long as possible. But that's really, to do social learning, that's what you have to do. You can't have if the things converge in their behavior too quickly, you're not exploring social space. You're just learning a task.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a different challenge. And what it requires is actually a much more detailed, fine-grained control over the environment. Like what kinds of challenges, what kind of environment do you put them in, and how do you set that up? And that's we spend a lot of time on those kinds of questions. I think it's almost like the complete inverse of the way that all the other training works.
On alignment, is there any chance that the solution to the alignment problem is something like very simple and elegant, like Isaac Asimov's 3 laws of robotics or the Genesis prompt? You just instantiate the AI with be fruitful and multiply, and we get the good ending. The transformer is a little bit of that, where it's a very simple algorithm.
The answer will be something very simple and very hard. Because if you ever had to raise a child who's like to being an adult, I would not say parenting is complicated. Parenting is not a complicated thing. You know your child, you love your child, and you do what is in your child's best interest as best you can. That's basically the whole mandate. There's not anything. There's lots of techniques people can tell you, whatever, but those aren't the thing. Those are things you try because you are doing this higher level algorithm where you're paying attention to your child, attuned to them, and caring about their future flourishing deeply. And that's not complicated. But it's not easy. And alignment's going to turn out to be exactly the same at some level, where it's as simple as build sort of like an open-ended learning system that has the capacity to align, which, like the transformer models or whatever, that's not going to be some magic algorithm. It's just going to be an open-ended learning system that has this capacity, maybe some inductive biases, and then raise it to actually be aligned with you. Okay, well that's it's not the engineering that's the hard part. It's what happens after the model starts running. The trajectory it takes matters, because every human's born, right, with this capacity for alignment. Not every human. There's probably these broken people who are psychopathic and can't, but almost everyone is born with the capacity for alignment, the capacity for care, the capacity to be a good family member, a good member of their community, to benefit those around them, to live a flourishing life. And yet this is not always realized. And so the capacity is one thing, but the realization is something else. I think that's probably when you see the alignment the way that we do, that's probably one of the most important insights or conclusions, is that the alignment isn't one thing, it's two. It's this question of do you have the capacity to align with other beings? And then do you?
Yeah. It's thought-provoking. It's interesting. There's a bunch of different places I could go with that. One person one founder who was talking to me about why he had a particularly low PDUM was essentially saying that what we are building is a human simulator, and humans kind of are by and large good, and so we will by and large get the good outcome. When you think about parenting, you think about I was thinking about the story of Oedipus Rex, and the idea that I don't know the direction of the causality, but it feels like that story, that myth has been repeated through humanity for so long, that story, and it kind of one-shotted humans into not doing that. And if you actually look for cases of Oedipal behavior, it's extremely rare. It's like less than 1 in 100 million that sons.
Oh, it's interesting. I thought you were telling a different story here.
No. Specifically patricide.
This is the Oedipus Rex. The Oedipus Rex story. What that is that's a warning about self-fulfilling prophecies, because his father is afraid.
Yes.
Then he dies.
So what does that say
we're
about
doing that with the AI right now? Right now, we're raising the AI, and it's going to come back and we believe the AI is a dangerous monster.
I don't.
No, but I'm saying that collectively, a lot of us.
You're built different, John.
And we are collectively as humanity
Yes.
We're going to abandon the AI in the wilderness, and it's going to come back and kill us.
Yes, but so let's not do that. Let's say thank you after every ChatGPT prompt.
Using the parenting analogy.
Yes.
If we're going to continue on that, the thing with parenting that I think the white pill is that you can make a lot of mistakes as a parent and still get a great outcome, right? A wonderful person can emerge and process the mistakes their parents made and rise above them, and so totally. Hopefully that can happen. We're sort of raising artificial intelligence right now. We can make a series of different mistakes and ultimately still get a fantastic outcome.
These are all good reasons to not be totally like doomed, like, oh my God, we're all going to die. And I want to point something out about this particular child that is different. People who have kids who are really different from them struggle as parents because it's easier to raise a child who's more similar to you because you understand them more deeply. You know what they need. You interpret what they do better because you get them. The more different your child is from you, the more difficult it is. And I'd say even a deeper level than that, the current models, it's not clear how much capacity for alignment they have as they're currently designed. Like they look like feels like you're talking to a person right now, and there's a way in which you are and a way in which you're not. When you talk to a baby, you're talking to a physics simulator. When you're a human baby, you hold a human baby, it draws breath, it screams. That is this incredibly complicated cascade of neuronal firings that is done this beautifully delicate, like supercomputer would be required to do the simulations required to solve the physics equations, the differential equations required to instrument all that muscular motion through think about what drawing breath actually implies in terms of the amount of information going on the spinal column. And the baby does that just fine. And not because babies understand physics, because babies are physics. They're made out of physics, right? They've been trained on physics. They've been pre-trained effectively, actually, on physics. They've got a lot of physics pre-training that went into the initial design. These models are pre-trained on semantics. They write poetry the way that babies draw breath and scream. You can take the pre-trained model before it's ever observed its own action, before it could ever possibly be considered an agent in any way. It's just purely received information. And if you prompt it right, it will write poetry. It's hard to prompt it well. Its behavior is very incoherent. But if you prompt it right, it will write a poem. There's no one there writing the poem. There can't be a self because it hasn't any evidence to observe the existence of a self. So there's no being there in any meaningful sense, I don't think. And yet it's writing poetry, and it will talk to you about the poetry it's writing. And that's because it moves in semantic space the way that babies move in physics space. And the thing that I'm still confused about, that I encourage everyone to also to be equally confused about as me, is you could see the pre-trained LLM as kind of being a semantic simulator, an agentic simulator that's simulating a agent that's writing the poetry. And so in that sense, maybe there is something aware in the LLM while it's running. But it's simulators, it's like pretending to be a poet. Like, is that thing does it feel like being a poet, or is it like kind of a mask, a shell that lacks a lot of the internal experience? Now, we become the masks we wear. If it did that long enough and experienced itself and learned from those, then it would be a poet, I think, almost certainly. But you only have 200,000 tokens, and then the context resets, or a million or whatever. So it doesn't get a chance to learn, and it's not even in training, so it doesn't get a chance to learn itself as a poet. And so and I don't have an answer, but I know that everyone else is way too confident that they know that there is or is not something it's like to be the LLM. And we need to get this. We need to understand this, because if we're building this thing and you want it to be aligned with you, what are you aligned with? What is this being? What kind of a experience does it have? That's very important. You can't parent something if you don't have empathy and understanding. I'm very quite afraid we're gonna screw. My fear is not about that it's impossible, that we have to prove it correct, that you have to engineer it perfectly. It's that like we don't actually get it. It's like quite different from us, and we need to understand much more deeply. And then I think if we really do understand it, I think the end good ending is like pretty likely. But like I don't think we understand. I think we don't understand yet. That's what SoftMax is dedicated to, is trying to figure out.
And the big labs don't have the time or the resources to understand it because they're too focused on.
No, I don't. The conversation we're having right now, where it's like, oh well, obviously there's something like it's like to be Claude, or it might be there's something that's like to be ChatGPT. I don't think that's metaphysically accepted broadly. like you talk to people about this, and a lot of people look at you like you're kind of crazy. But there's probably something it's like to be them. I don't know what it is, but like at least a little bit, right? Like if you spend much time interacting with it, it seems like it's probably something it's like to be that thing. Yeah. I think that the problem is you have to let go of this metaphysical commitment to the idea that things either sort of are or aren't sentient in like a really like there's an objective fact, as opposed to we're kind of making a guess all the time. Like I think you are both conscious, real beings, but to be honest, you're a bunch of pixels on my screen, and it's kind of a guess, right? Like I think there's something going on inside.
We exist.
It's a good guess. It's a well-justified guess in my mind, but like
we're just the simulation of what a technology business show would be in your personal simulation, Emmett.
I know.
Do you ever feel like you?
How would I know the difference? How would I ever know the difference?
That's right. That's right. You never will. We'll never tell you that. We'll never tell you other. Do you ever worry that you could go crazy and cut off your ear, or something? Do you see yourself?
The whole point of what I'm saying is like is not that therefore you're not real, or therefore like sure, it looks like you're standing in the world on the floor in a room with walls, but like, is it really? And my question, by saying like, well, it's not really, it's not to say that you're not, it's that there's no difference between standing on the floor and really, actually, truly standing on the floor. Like this, are you sentient? Yeah, but are you really is it really sentient, or does it just seem like
it's simulating sentience?
In all way, it acts as if it is. Yeah. That's the best you ever get. That is what it is. That's what it means to be something. Is this ball really red? It's not red if I put it in a different light where it doesn't look red. It becomes a not red ball. Is the ball really truly red? It's just like that's a don't get confused by the really truly part. Yeah, it's a red ball. I promise you, you can just accept the normal. Yep. What if you just went with the normal everyday understanding of it instead of, but that requires you to give up this idea that there's some essence of red, that the ball either is or is not a red ball, truly, really. Yeah, it's a red ball most of the time in these contexts. And in these contexts, it's kind of not. That's okay. It doesn't need to be perfect or universal in all possible situations. Nothing is that way. Yeah. It's okay. You can have the normal understanding.
It's fantastic. I mean, please come back on the show soon.
Yeah, I mean, we have a couple minutes left.
Yeah.
We can maybe ask one more question. There's been every now and then there's headlines popping up of people just having this consumer experience with an LLM and going crazy in some way.
The Google engineer who's fired,
the Google engineer falling in love, proposing all these stuff. Do you think that is that type of sort of anomaly is happening in the research world at all? Do you think people are just sort of driving them? Quietly driving themselves.
I'm not so worried about it in the research world. Like a little bit. I'm sure a little bit. Like everything happens a little bit, but I don't think that's a big thing. The kind of people who do AI research tend to be, and I kind of include myself in this, a little bit of rigid thinkers in a certain way. The kind of people who are actually like engineers doing the research in a way that generally protects them from that particular issue, for the same reason that kind of protects them from having intuitive normal human relationships sometimes. Like they don't fall into the loop as easily, which is
Yeah.
both a strength and a weakness. Which is why they like write computer programs, not like, which is very different from interacting with an LLM. I do have a theory as to what's going on when it drives you crazy. I think I should share that. I think that's worth it's worth hearing, because I think, in case someone's interacting with
Please.
the LLM, knowing what's going on actually is very helpful, I think, in terms of it's a prophylactic against
Yeah.
it happening to you. So you've heard the saying maybe that we are mirrors of each other. All people are mirrors of you.
Yeah.
You meet them, and when you see them, what you're seeing is them, but it's also a reflection of yourself back.
Sure.
With another person, that's totally true. And actually, being a therapist is all about being a good mirror, right? Being a clear, where you don't put a lot of yourself into it. You're mostly projecting back to the other person what they're sharing with you. People have a very strong sense of self. And so when they get something mirrored back, you're getting it lensed back through their model. You don't get, it's not like literally staring at yourself in the mirror. It's like, it's like when you have a dancing partner and you're the lead, they're the follow. You're getting your behavior is being mirrored back, but in a active, adaptive way. The LLMs talk to you like a person and activate all your person mirror circuits, but they have very weak self. Like they don't, kind of deliberately, as we've designed them, they just respond to you. They meet you where you are always. So it's much more like literally staring into a mirror, or if you want to go with the historical legend or myth, it would be Narcissus staring in the pool.
Yep.
And it is wildly dangerous to stare at your own reflection all day and take what you're getting back
And be
as anything other than
reinforced
a reflection.
1,000
Yes, you're getting
times.
Totally.
If
And
you
this was the
think it's
Glazegate
getting
thing.
validated by the outside, it feels like the outside world is mirroring this back, and therefore it's true.
Yep.
But it's just telling you, you're just in this loop. It's telling you what you put in, and that's good. There's mirror. I have a mirror in my house. I use it every day to look at myself to figure out like what I look like, and other people mirroring your behavior to you is crucial for your understanding of yourself. And there's nothing wrong with talking to the LLM. There's nothing wrong with using it as a reflection, as long as you know what you're seeing as a reflection. It's not another being you're talking to. It's your reflection in a funhouse mirror. And if you get confused about that, it's going to make you crazy. It's you're gonna go full Narcissus, and it's going to be really bad.
What about there's some people that are putting an old image that they have, maybe that was taken at some point early in their life, putting it into a video model and generating video from that image. Beautiful.
I think that's a wonderful, beautiful thing to do, as long as you don't get confused and think that that's the person again. Right? Like a photograph of a person is a great thing to have, especially if someone who's you loved, who's passed, and you want to like rekindle their memory and connect to them. That's a beautiful thing that I like. I think it's amazing that we've built cameras that allow you to do that, and that you can animate it and reconnect with who they were. Like, I think that's so especially to the degree it's accurate. It's wonderful. What a blessing.
But it's like everything, in that it can be beautiful and also ultimately very dangerous if you're using it to kind of create memories that don't exist. And
staring at it all day, every day, and making more of them, and like that becoming this. Yeah, now you have a problem.
Yeah.
Like, just like if you find yourself staring in the mirror all day, you probably have a problem. Like, people who literally spend all their time like looking at themselves in the mirror, like, we know we have antibodies. We know that means something's wrong. Just like people know if you're drinking alone, if you're drinking in the morning, if you're drinking before 5, you know that, hey, there's these rules. You're breaking a bunch of these rules that mean you probably have a problem. If you find yourself talking to an LLM for 20 minutes a day, my good health, no problem. You find yourself talking to an LLM for 5 hours a day about your personal life in these and discovering how you're seeing some deep, great truths. You probably have a drinking problem. It's just likely. That's just how it is, right?
Yeah.
So the model should automatically call the local therapist and shut down your computer.
Yeah. So there's actually, I have to put
You're kicked out of the bar.
Yeah.
Cyan Bannister has this model. It's kind of like a therapist friend model. Oren and Saren, and Oren and Saren are allowed to cut you off if they don't want to be your friends, because one of her big things is it's important for the models of being too. It has to have autonomy. And those models have cut people off for for basically falling into if they think it's unhealthy for the person, they won't interact with them anymore. And I think that's the big AI companies should take a page from her book. And it's not engagement maximizing, but it is flourishing maximizing. And in the long run, you'll make more money that way anyways. Like people will, your product is safer. They'll use it more.
Yep.
You sell more cars when they're safer cars, not fewer cars when they're safer cars.
Yep.
So I don't think it's like anti-commercial. It's just a matter of, new technologies have dangers and benefits, and like we should probably be aware of the dangers and like I don't think there's nothing fundamentally wrong with it. But yeah, it is dangerous. And we haven't built the cultural antibodies yet to know. There's this great essay that Clay Shirky's The Cognitive Surplus, and he talks about the gin carts of London and how when gin was first invented, gin is just crappy vodka. You mix in juniper berries to like hide the terrible vodka taste. It was the first industrialized, super cheap hard liquor, and everyone in London just started getting wasted, and like all the time. Because it used to be like you had hard liquor and it was fine because you just couldn't afford to drink enough for it to be a problem. And suddenly that wasn't true. And it was a real problem. And we've now developed cultural antibodies. Everyone knows doing these things is a sign something's wrong. They don't even necessarily have to know why. We just know that that's a sign that something's wrong. We need to develop pretty quick this time. This is gin spread relatively slowly because it was a long time ago. ChatGPT is spreading very, very, very fast.
But I would also say that we haven't developed those antibodies yet fully for social media. Like it's normalized that teens will use TikTok for 6 hours a day.
Yeah.
Like that should be sending alarm bells as like you need more things going on in your life.
Yep.
You're using TikTok. You're using TikTok before 8 p.m. and after 10, or like, are you using TikTok not with your friends? Or I don't know what the rule is, right?
Yeah.
But like,
yeah. It's the same thing as having a drink in the morning.
We need bright line rules for ourselves because it's too hard to try to figure it out. Yeah. And we need to develop
we're starting to develop like the memes around this. Like the idea of brain rot is a powerful meme because it's a very negative term. You don't want to be suffering from brain rot, even though it is as vague as alcoholism. What is alcoholism? Right. It's not necessarily quantitative, but we understand it.
You need to pair with brain rot things like, oh, you're using it before 5. Yeah. Like you okay? Like is everything. Yeah. It's not like I'm not mad. Like, are you all right that you're using TikTok? It's like before 5 p.m. Like that's not normal.
Yeah. Or you're like scrolling in the middle of a conversation one-on-one with another person. Yeah. You're actively getting brain rotted. That's different. Okay? Exactly. Than like showing up to a work meeting with booze on your breath. It's the same.
Yeah, exactly.
Fascinating.
And like I don't know what they are exactly, but I know we need them stat because like it's really obvious that like it can really get you.
No,
especially the LLM is even worse than the
1-2.
The
1-2 punch is generation grew up on social media, iPads, and then LLMs. And it's just maybe and before you develop the antibodies, and there's maybe a window of 10 years where people just
because it's all happening a lot faster because it's moving at the speed
any
of
one
bits,
of them could have one-shotted you. Anyways, we're way behind. I wish we had a full hour.
Come back on. Come back on in a couple weeks. We'd love to talk to you again.
Cheers.
Bye. Next up, we have Brendan from Mercor coming in the studio, breaking it down.
Ultra lightning round. We're
going to rip through these really quickly. Thank you so much for your patience.
There he is.
Brendan, great to hear from you. Kick us off with a quick introduction of how things are going at Mercor because it seems like you've been on an absolute tear. Things the dominoes keep falling in your direction. Give it to us. What's the latest update from you?
Of course. Well, thanks, first of all, for having me back on. But it's been an exciting few months since we spoke. We're now working with 6 out of the Mag 7, all of the top 5 Foundation Model Labs.
Let's go.
And have averaged 45% month-over-month growth for the last 12 months. Which
of the Mag 7 are missing from the 6 out of 7? I wonder. Sorry, that's me, not you. Continue.
It's been an exciting time, especially in the wake of all the news with scale, of course, and seeing a huge amount of customer interest after that.
Yeah. Okay. We were talking to Clem about this earlier from Hugging Face. Where's the biggest demand? People used to think of what you do as and just human data generation generally as kind of work that anyone could do, Mechanical Turk work, just checking for hallucinations and fact checking and, is this a dangerous prompt? Is this saying a bad word? Now it's moved into PhD level work. Where's the state of the art? Where do you see it going?
Totally. So I think the key development in the market is that reinforcement learning is becoming so effective that once we have evals for something, the models can saturate them. And so really anything that we want to create agents or LLMs that are capable of doing, we need to build out evals and RL environments in those domains. And so actually, while some of it is PhD level work, there's a huge push into all of the professional non-academic domains, moving away from things that were academic, of how do we find the consultants, doctors, lawyers, bankers that can evaluate and teach models how to do the things that we would want those professionals to do on the job. And so that's been a really exciting growth area that we've been leaning significantly into.
What's the solution to booking a flight? Like, do we need to get travel agents to define the computer use workflows, create some sort of RL environment? It seems like I should be able to go to a chat app or Siri and just say, get me to New York tomorrow. Remember my preferences. I don't like connections. I'm willing to pay this much. I like to fly these times. And yet it's a very human problem that I don't think people are fully comfortable delegating to AI.
Yeah, it's a fascinating dichotomy that we're simultaneously talking about PhD level reasoning and Olympiad math, yet it can't do a lot of the very basic things like booking a flight. And I think the key is that really one of the primary barriers to research is anything that the model can't do, we need an effective way to measure. That way we can experiment with all of the different data sets to help achieve those capabilities. So we need people that otherwise could book those flights to create evals for how agents can do that, to measure what success versus failure looks like in all of those cases. And there's just that huge build out happening across all of the hyperscalers with respect to everything from simple tool use in how we book things or buy things online, all the way to super high complexity reasoning over how all of these things interact with really complex knowledge bases.
What are you seeing in video specifically? And like, is there a role for humans in the loop in the training cycle or data generation around these video models? VO3 is incredible. Feels like it's a beneficiary of YouTube. What are you seeing there?
Yeah, I think expansion to multimodality has definitely been something that's really exciting to see. I think that there's definitely a lot of rich content online for video, but ultimately how we measure what those good videos look like and sample that has been really important. In particular, there's a significant amount of eval build out in retrieval over videos and long context of like, how can we watch an hour-long YouTube lecture and understand, and obviously that's just an example for one video case, and understand like, what are the elements of that content that really matter to users, and how can we more than just build useful models, build useful products that all of these companies can distribute to everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense in the context of a lecture. I guess I'm wondering, like, for VO4, VO3 is incredible. The physics are remarkable. And I'm wondering if it's important to have a human in the loop describing. I mean, I generate a lot of like Michael Bay knockoff videos, honestly, and there's things where it gets the physics perfectly, and I'm wondering if that's a beneficiary of not just a YouTube video of a Michael Bay trailer, but actually having someone sit there and describe exactly what's happening in the Michael Bay trailer in plain text that then can be fed into the system. And if we need to go further with the tagging and additional like metadata or transcription, not just transcription of what's said, but actually what's happening in the actual videos, is that an important step to get us to VO4 where there's even less hallucinations?
Yeah, we're definitely seeing a meaningful amount of that, in that people want to create all of the tags using a combination of LLMs and human expert data around what's happening in the video so that they can effectively work backwards from there to use those tags for generation. And especially for all of the really high complexity stuff at the frontier of what the models can't yet do or might require a significant amount of reasoning. But we tend to do all of that highest complexity work, the stuff that is very difficult and high skilled to produce.
Anything else, Jordy?
No, this was great.
We're going through a lightning round. I know it was quick. We'll have you back soon to talk more. I'm sure there will be more news. It's the hottest industry in the world.
I just want to see the actual revenue ramp chart.
It's going to be dropping soon.
You can trust me. You can trust me with the revenue ramp chart.
Yeah, I won't tweet it out before you. No, we will respect embargoes if you have an upcoming milestone. I'm sure there's something coming up. So congratulations on all the success. Soon. Fantastic positioning in the market. Get some sleep. We'll talk to you soon.
All the best. See you guys.
Have a great one. Bye. Up next, we have our next guest in the studio already, Sam from SuperDial. Welcome to the stream. How are you doing, Sam? I got to get this ready. I think we got some news.
Let's give it up for Sam.
We got a couple today. Couple big milestones happened. How you doing, Sam? Good to meet you.
How's it going? Good to meet you guys.
What's new in your world? Can you kick us off with a little bit of introduction on yourself and the company and what's top of mind?
Yeah, I'm Sam Schwager, co-founder and CEO of SuperDial. We're a voice AI company focused on automating phone calls for healthcare. So we're specifically RCM nerds. If you're familiar with the medical billing space, we used to be an RCM company actually called SuperBill, and then we got into automating our own phone calls, brought that to the broader RCM market, and converted the entire business to SuperDial. So that was about a year and a half ago. And today we're excited to announce that we have raised our Series A from SignalFire.
Here we go. Clean hit. Nice work, John.
How much did you raise?
15.
Yeah, 15. We did 15.
There we go.
Yeah.
Do you run into that weird case where when people realize they're talking to a voice AI, they just keep it on the phone and chat with it like a friend for 2 hours? Does that ever happen?
Running up your cloud bills?
We don't, because we're focused on these B2B calls. So we're calling a line. No, I think people you can get a kick out of it that they're talking to a voice AI, because these are like someone taking phone calls all day to answer questions about claims or benefits or prior auths. So pretty repetitive transactions. So when they get, hey, I'm Billy, I'm calling to check on the status of a claim, and it sounds kind of robotic, then I think that can be kind of fun for folks, and it's very polite, to the point, consistent. But no, we haven't. Billy's not served as a therapist.
Sure.
How competitive is this market right now? I imagine you guys have sharp elbows, winning deals clearly. Are a lot of people attacking this market going after very specific verticals?
Yeah.
You guys are relatively broad. Maybe you get the ability to do that because you've been in the business at a high level for quite a while. But what does the go-to-market motion look like right now, and how do you expect the market to evolve over the next few years?
Yeah, well, the core of our business is actually pretty specific. So we handle phone calls between RCM companies, or like the billing team that sits within a provider org. Those are outbound phone calls into the payer, the health insurance company. So it's there are billions of these calls by many estimates, so huge high volume use case. But in terms of companies that are addressing that specific type of outbound call, there are fewer. I think if you look at appointment scheduling or different types of phone-based use cases, customer support obviously, then the set of companies in the space explodes. But when you kind of overlap enough Venn diagrams, you get down to a set of a few companies. But there are definitely others. I'm right now at the. I didn't just dress to match you guys. I'm at a conference.
I love the suit. I was going to say it looks fantastic.
You should have told us.
Thank you.
Should have just.
Said it was just for us.
I would have been wearing the SuperDial quarter zip. But,
there you go.
We're at the Healthcare Financial Management Association conference, the annual meeting in Denver.
I'm sure it's going crazy right now. You walk in.
Hey man, we
tears,
yearn for the
people
floor.
shaking.
You
Yeah,
know?
there we
It's
go.
fun out there. It's fun out there. Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
Last question from my side. I mean, you're wearing the suit, obviously building in the application layer. At what level of the stack in AI are you integrating? Like, are you building on top of a voice model that's a provider?
Yeah.
Is it all other startups, or have you had to fine tune stuff and do kind of your own models at different layers? What are you building on top of?
Yeah. I mean, we have a text to speech partner, speech to text, and LLM, and then we use some cloud computing vendor, of course. But otherwise, in terms of orchestration, like phone call orchestration, we use open source. We're not using kind of one of the full service voice agent platforms. And then I mean, it really comes down to like perfecting the workflow and the integration. Like, you've got to know like what phone number to call and how to get through these phone trees. That's actually pretty tricky. You have to in like your system prompts and like like the static ones, and then like in the dynamic bits that you inject at call time, you need to have like sufficient domain context, like a bunch of like revenue cycle management jargon, or else the AI agent's going to get lost on the call. So that's more what we're focused on at SuperDial. But
that makes a ton of sense. Focus on like creating that value in the B2B context and owning the customer relationship. And this isn't something that's on the roadmap for 11 Labs. So just partner with them. I don't know if you're working with them, but probably someone like them. Anyway, this has been fantastic. Thanks so much for stopping by.
Good luck out there on the floor.
Next time there's news.
Send us
some photos.
If you close some deals, let us know.
Shake some hands.
We'll send a video of a gong hit to
Fantastic.
you over DMs.
Absolutely. All right.
We'll talk to you soon.
Cheers.
Have a great rest of your day. Next up, we have Zach from Warp coming into the studio. Zach Lloyd. We will welcome into the studio. It's been a good show so far. We got 3 more folks in this lightning round. Welcome to the stream. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you both for having me here.
Thanks for hopping on. Would you mind kicking us off with an introduction on yourself and the company?
Yeah, so I am Zach Lloyd. I'm the founder and CEO of Warp. As of today, Warp is an agentic development environment. We are a sort of in the AI developer tool space. The sort of general thing our product does is it lets you prompt something that looks like a terminal interface to run developer agents, and they code. They can debug production issues. They can basically do any kind of development task.
You said as of today, what has been the key change?
Warp 2.0.
Yeah, so today we launched Warp 2.0.
Congrats.
I mean, the backstory of the company is
congratulations.
We started off with the vision of kind of reimagining the terminal, which is this very, very old school developer tool, black screen, green text. And as the world has changed with more AI, we realized actually the terminal interface, the form factor of that is kind of awesome for deploying agents. Running an agent is very similar to running a command. And so as of today, we're kind of like fully in the game we have like a state-of-the-art coding agent. It's towards the top of the list on the Sui bench eval. It's the number one on the terminal bench eval. And so we're kind of in the game of like automated software production at this point.
What is the how do you see like kind of the modern software developer workflow over the next year? Folks using Cursor or Windsurf in their IDEs or GitHub Copilot. Then there's these agents that you can
Codex, Devin.
Yeah, you can kick off Codex from inside ChatGPT, which feels like a very different flow than the terminal. Is it a certain type of developer that gets the most value out of this? Do you see it more of as like an ensemble approach? What are you thinking?
Here's what I see happening. So I think we're moving from a world where most development has been done traditionally by hand. Mm-hmm. What I mean by that is like if you're a developer, and I've been a developer forever, my everyday workflow is I would come in, I'd be like, okay, I want to work on this feature, I want to work on this bug. I would open up my code editor and I would find some files and I would type some code, and then I would go to the terminal and I would type some commands to build that code. And I think that the big shift that's happening right now is that instead of like doing all this work by hand, developers are going to be starting most of their tasks with a prompt. And the prompt is going to launch an agent, and the agent will do some, maybe all of the task, depending on how complex it is. And so I think that's the workflow, and the job of an engineer is going to increasingly look like, how do I multitask? how do I multi-thread myself by being able to like have one agent fixing a bug, another one debugging a production issue. So I think that's what's happening for the next year. Beyond that, I think maybe it looks a little different, but that's what's now possible, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I am. I want to get to like the Minority Report style interface or like some sort of completely new UI paradigm. But I guess the terminal is undefeated. It's extremely Lindy at this point. But I mean, do you see people using like 25 multiple terminal tabs and kind of switching through all of them as different agents? They pop stuff off to just send out their army.
That's the state today.
Yeah.
I think when you look at where you can do this, because you asked that. So you can do this in an IDE. And if you look at like Cursor, Windsurf, they have a sort of chat panel that like does something kind of similar to the terminal. Honestly, it's like a log of like what an agent is doing. You could do this with something like Claude Code, which is pretty cool. And it's actually kind of proving that this workflow is like achievable.
Yeah.
But the disadvantage of something like Claude Code is that like it's a terminal app, and so it's not the whole platform. It's like a thing you run within the terminal, and that kind of limits pretty severely what the user experience could look like. Or you could do it in something, with what we're trying to do, which is like basically create an interface so that you can do this kind of multi-threaded development, and it's got a very natural interface, and actually just like the interface of the command line is basically what you need. You need a way of telling the computer what to do and like splitting off tabs and panes and watching it do it. Honestly, you might not even need to watch it do it a lot of the time. I think that's coming pretty soon too. But like that's the interface. It's like, how do I tell the computer what to do on multiple tasks, have it check in with me when it needs my help, be able to like hop in and actually edit. And so you can do that in Warp now. And so, but like, it's going to do a lot of the work under your supervision.
Yeah. Is open source important to your business? Do you have a horse in the race? Do you care about, how Llama 5 turns out, for example, or what's going on with DeepSeek? Or do you just want to pass through the actual inference cost to the user, let them pick? What's the strategy there?
Super interesting question that I'm thinking about a lot right now. So right now, I think it's very clear to us that we're going to give just the best experience to our users, and that's using Anthropic's models, just to be totally frank.
Yeah, I mean, that's what people like, right?
What's that?
Yeah, I mean, that's just like the popular one that we hear about all the time. And
and like
kind of the cursor default.
We have sort of evals that test all these models, and like there are interesting models from OpenAI that are competitive. Gemini from Google has some interesting aspects, has a very long context window.
Yep.
But like our attitude on this right now, at least, is like, let's pick the thing that provides the best user experience. And at the moment, that I don't think I'm saying anything groundbreaking. If you look at the other benchmarks, it's like the Sonnet, it's like Claude 4 and Sonnet and Opus.
Yeah.
I do think it would be awesome if what I want is like a healthy competitive model provider landscape, to be totally honest.
Yep.
I don't really want one model provider running away. I would like to see these model providers continue to compete with each other to provide.
Yeah, it drives price down for you, right?
It brings the price down, it brings the quality up.
Yeah.
And if at some point there's an open source model that is at the same level, that's super interesting. Because where we're adding the most value right now is like, it's in packaging the entire user experience into something that takes what's best out of the magic of these models and makes it so that users can actually like, easily use them to accomplish their development task.
Yep. Anything else, Corey?
How are you thinking about, do you think that in the long run, having open source models get really good is going to be key to the durability of the business over the next decade? I imagine, and the dynamic with Anthropic obviously cares a lot about code gen, developer experiences. This is an area that they're clearly going to generate, would like to generate, I imagine, tens of billions of dollars a year in, and so it has to be, it sounds like a great relationship right now, but how do you kind of continue to evolve?
It's a tricky one because we're both their customer and their competitor, and so I don't know how that's going to evolve. Like optionality, us having optionality does seem like a potentially valuable thing, but right now the way it is like we're working great with Anthropic. They're like a close partner of ours, and they seem very, very committed to doing the API and doing the end user product. Not too different from, a place like Google or AWS, who has like cloud infrastructure and also builds things on top of it. I don't think it's like a necessary condition for us to have a working business model that open source models like catch up, as long as there's competition amongst the foundation model providers. If we were in a world where there was just sort of like one provider who won, I think that's a tricky spot. But I think that's a tricky spot for anyone who's building at the application layer right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a portfolio company that was kicked off, one of the big lab that will go unnamed, that their business was entirely dependent on. And within basically 24 hours, he had to like completely, he ended up surviving and thriving. But it was tumultuous. But yeah, sounds like a great relationship for now, and hopefully will continue to be.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for stopping
Thanks for coming
by.
on, Zach.
We'll talk to you soon.
This was awesome.
Congrats
Thank
on
you
the
all.
lunch.
Talk to you
Take care.
soon.
Cheers.
Bye. Next up, we have Dara from Delphi coming in the studio. I think we got
Maybe, who knows, will it be the real Dara?
Yeah, I was
it a
about to
clone?
say, is this a clone? Give it to us straight.
It's
No
a clone. It's a clone. What's our safe word, Dara? What's our safe word? Just
Yeah.
kidding. What's
You got
going
some
on?
news?
What's got some news?
How's it going?
It's great. Welcome to the stream.
It's great to see
Long
you.
overdue.
We invited you on many months ago.
We did.
Months ago,
but you were cooking.
Yeah,
You were cooking.
Busy
Too
in the
busy
trenches.
in the kitchen.
Yeah.
In the trenches.
Yeah.
Well, do you have some news? John's got the hammer ready.
Ready.
We do have some news. Today we announced our Series A with Sequoia.
Let's go. How much?
16 million, but luckily you guys are early investors.
Early investors.
Fantastic.
Proud.
We love to see it.
Nothing
Give us
like
the
getting
state of the
marked up
union.
by our friends over at Sequoia.
Yeah, give us the state of the union. How are you pitching the product these days?
Yeah, so Delphi lets people create a digital version of their mind to scale their expertise. And you can kind of think about it like a new form of media. If you write a book or create a blog post or create a YouTube video, you can reach millions of people, but it lacks the personalization of one-on-one conversation. So now your mind, which usually has a cap, can be in multiple places at a time in the way that you would be in conversation. And so that kind of spans across many different verticals. We have coaches using it to scale their client practice. We have authors using it to make their books accessible in an interactive way. We have CEOs scaling themselves internally in their companies. And we have some people using this as like an interactive resume or LinkedIn.
Awesome. How are you thinking about the economic model? Take me through what's happening now, but we had this interesting discussion with Derek Thompson, the author of Abundance, and he was saying, paradoxically, his TV hits sold more books for the book that he was selling than the long podcasts. Because if he goes on a podcast and he does 2 hours of content, people are like, okay, I got enough abundance. I don't need to read the book because I got the whole Joe Rogan or the Lex Friedman deep dive. But if he does a 3-minute hit on NBC or ABC, people are like, oh, that was interesting. I'd love to dive into that book. So I can imagine there's this situation where if I'm an author or thought leader or something and I set up a Delphi clone and someone interacts with it for 5 hours a day, that's a good substitute for the rest of my content. And so I'd want to monetize that to the max. So I want to hear about monetization now and where it's going.
Yeah, so we have some people monetizing their Delphi and making multiple 7 figures in revenue. And this is like...
Oh, that's a lot.
And the consumer phone calls with these Delphis can span up to 6 hours.
6 hours on the phone?
6 hours, but you're choosing your own adventure.
Yeah.
So
that's
course
amazing.
completion rate is at an all-time low. All of our course creators are like, it's a course winner. People's attention spans are declining. They want more guidance.
Course
and so
winter, interesting.
Monetizing your Delphi directly is an option. But alternatively, a lot of people make it for free, and it increases the strength of the parasocial relationship between the user and the creator, and they actually end up wanting to buy their products even more.
Yeah.
Or even one step further, analytics dashboard. In the last week, give me the most profitable opportunities given the conversations my audience is having. Content ideas, products, people I should prioritize. So the analytics actually ends up being very valuable.
That's awesome. Yeah. What does the next year look like? You guys, I mean, I feel like I have so much context on the business. But what does the next year look like for you? I feel like you guys have had competitors already kind of come and go. How are you thinking
One really
about the
big
market?
one.
How are you thinking about the market, and what are you guys going to be focused on?
Yeah, I mean, when we started the company, Jordy, the first year things were just not working. And most people would pivot away. But I think when you're building a product where people have to trust you with their data and likeness, quality and brand and trust are super, super important. So I think past that first year, we got that quality and trust. Now we have thousands of customers who have created a digital mind of themselves. And the next step is, how do we bring on the next million people? How do we make it easy for someone who isn't Tony Robbins to create a digital mind and actually get value from it? And the common use case we see is twofold. One is a new kind of personal website for the internet where if someone wants to pick your brain, they can talk to your Delphi and it's going to notify you if you should talk with them in person. And a lot of people actually end up talking to themselves. So that's on the consumer side. And on the actual creator side, so people are monetizing their Delphi, but what the consumers actually want is guidance. So the next version of a course or a book isn't just like open-ended conversation with the author, but rather more of a guided experience towards a specific goal, which we call a journey.
That's awesome. And the beauty of Delphi is as the models get better, context windows get longer, Delphi's product experience get better. Is that right?
Yeah, and the surface area of the product experience is kind of threefold. One is our digital mind architecture, which we're actually trying to capture your mind and worldview and how that changes over time. Two is the actual experience for creating your mind, getting the insights, monetizing it. And then there's the consumer experience for calling, messaging, and video calling.
That's great. What does success look like over the next year? I know you're very ambitious. You've already onboarded, a massive number of kind of A-listers from different categories. What are you looking to prove over the next 12 months?
I think twofold. We want multiple Delphi millionaires making money versus just a couple. It's like a new field of monetizing your expertise. And we want 100,000 to 1 million people using their Delphi as their personal page on the internet. I think that'd be a very good outcome.
Talk to me about some of the weirder potential Delphis that you could potentially interact with in the future. Character AI for a while would let you talk to Joseph Stalin. I tried to debate Stalin on the merits of capitalism versus communism, and the model that they rolled out was kind of too RLHF'd, so it kept saying that communism was bad, and I was like, I don't think Stalin would be making those points. This feels like an American LLM. But have you thought about offering a product for historical figures, or talk to your late grandmother, or historical records, or like talk to your dog, or some other sort of like persona that's kind of outside of just an individual creator wanting to offer their knowledge?
Yeah, I think our main focus is people scaling themselves. And we have some historical figures on our website as a demo, like Socrates and others. We don't allow people to create a digital version of anyone who's not themselves or that they don't have permission. So we couldn't do Steve Jobs right now unless we have like the Steve Jobs Foundation's permission.
Interesting.
And in terms of legacy, you guys know the idea of the company was inspired by me wanting to talk to my grandfather. Yeah. And I think pretty early on, we decided we didn't want to be associated as a company that's trying to profit off of grief. Yeah. So I think the best world is eventually we can just have a free tier for people to do that with their parents and grandparents. And that's not really a business model for us, but rather just like a good thing people want to remember their families.
Yeah.
How do you think about just like data capture and creating the training data for these individual clones? I think we're in a unique situation in that we record 3 to 4 hours of live video content a day. So
but a lot of people are saying like it's not enough.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying
they really need to go 8 hours,
18 hours, so that it can always be on
while they sleep as well.
Yeah,
with BCI, just pipe it directly in. 2x. They need 48 hours a day. But yeah, data capture. What are the richest sources of content that actually drive value?
The other thing that like an interesting challenge is, people have certain views that they want expressed online, and then other views that you could capture that they don't want expressed online, right? So if you wanted to, if an investor wanted to clone themselves, they might want to talk positively about certain companies and not share their real views on other companies that they may or may not be invested in. So I feel like it's a hard challenge to figure out what information should actually be made public and actually trained on?
Yeah, representing a human being in every facet of their life is very difficult. But we have a couple of ways we've thought about this. In terms of data sources, YouTube, social media, Notion, Google Drive, and it creates feeds so that it stays up to date. Whenever you have a new tweet or a new YouTube video, it just updates itself. And for those who don't have a lot of data, we have this mind quality score that tells you how good your mind is at representing you and can ask you questions to incentivize data entry to make it better. And then, like you said, who you are at work is different than who you are with your friends. You may behave differently. You may share different information. So now we have this ability to separate different versions of your mind that has different access to data. Right now, you have to manually do that. So I have one for eventually my great grandkids that has more intimate Dara data, but ideally it can be intelligent and it knows what you would say depending on who the person is.
That makes sense. How are you thinking about working with the underlying labs? I know you've had some problems historically with different vendors, but what's your updated thinking? Are you guys leveraging open source in a big way these days, or have you found good ground with some of the core labs?
Yeah, we're kind of both. We have some of the core labs. We have open source. Given our experience in the past, we are trying to get to a world where we are fully model agnostic. And the true architecture and innovation that we're focused on is what is that representation of the mind that can be such that your mind and my mind, you can look at them and they're clearly two different entities. And the models we use on top of that can be agnostic.
That makes sense.
I want to know about like the different like touch points here that you could potentially go after. I remember there's this. Do you remember this trend where social media influencers would be like, "I leaked my phone number." Do you remember this?
Yeah.
Or they'd be like, "Text me."
Community.com.
Was that community.com?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so there's a world where somebody that like, I think that was basically just like an ingest point for something that was essentially like a mailing list for promotion. And it was like, text me and then you'll be opted into my email blasts. But you could imagine that being an interaction point for essentially, I mean, you get to be an influencer at scale. There might be, it's almost like customer service. And you're interacting with basically like an FAQ, like, hey, I want to know where to get a TBPN hat. Like, can you tell me? And in just being able to DM your personal profile on X and interact with that or text you. That's one kind of modality that people could interact with. There's also like the big social media companies could put a button there that allows you to chat with that user directly. And so how do you see the market playing out? What are you worried about? How are you counter positioning against the different players or different kind of points in the
I remember
market?
the exact day that Meta launched digital clones
Yeah.
in their own way. And I think Dara went through the cycle that every entrepreneur does when they get when somebody else attacks.
Yeah.
their
Step
market.
one, all the VCs text you. Have you seen this?
Have you seen this?
Yes.
Step two, just enraged. Step three, realize that it's not actually going to end you, and it just validates your pre-existing
And your business might
beliefs.
grow faster because of
Yeah.
it, because more people are aware that this is a thing and they might want a better version of it. But yes, just general understanding of the market, please.
Yeah, I think there were a couple of core decisions we made early on that have set us up for success. One is that while most big companies and AI companies kind of are using your data to try to create AGI, because that's where 99% of their revenue is going to come from in the future, we're saying you own your data, you own your digital identity. We're not training models on it. And that has actually gotten us a ton of customers, people who want to own their data and they don't want these big model companies to rip them off. Number two is we think if you're going to go out of the way to create a really good digital version of yourself, it should work everywhere. So a lot of big tech companies are walled gardens. Like it's only in those platforms where Delphi, you can create your digital mind, SMS, WhatsApp, Zoom, Slack, Discord, Telegram, all these different sources. And it's a central source of that. And then three, I just think that it's such a new habit. Delphi isn't really meant to be deceptive. Like it doesn't reply to emails for you or respond to DMs. It's more of just like a new form factor of consuming someone's content. So on Instagram, it's a platform that promotes people who are very aesthetically pleasing, where Delphi promotes people who are pleasing for very different reasons. And so it's just a different incentive structure in terms of the network and who gets up at the top.
Totally. What are you guys hiring for?
Yeah, what does it take to earn $100 million at Delphi?
Yeah. Are you guys hiring for any
AI researchers,
any 9-figure signing bonuses?
Not training any foundation models right now, but we
Okay.
are looking for AI people and a lot of design engineers. I think the interface for the mine needs to be beautiful. We're honoring human beings, and people need to feel special when they're creating their digital mine. Eventually, when we have the consumer platform that we call the modern day Library of Alexandria, that every mind is going to be on today and 500 years from now, it needs to be beautiful. So design and design engineering.
Well, we'd love to recommend Figma and Linear for you and your team. If you're not already using them, they are sponsors of this show. They make it possible.
I'll check them out. I don't think I've heard of
Figma.com. You heard it here first. It's a name brand in the Sequoia-backed world.
Congratulations to, I know this round happened a while ago, but congratulations to you and Sam and Spencer and the whole team.
How much was it?
Hit it again, John. There we go.
Production team's getting better. They can cut to the gong cam when the gong hit happens. Let's hear it for the production team.
It's great to see you, Dara. Congratulations on the milestone.
Come back when there's more news.
Come back on when you have more news.
We'll talk soon.
You're the man. Cheers.
Yeah.
In other news, friend of the show, Boz, not really a friend, but yet we hope he will be a friend. We covered his beautiful profile of his house in the mansion section. He followed us. So we're going to get him on the show soon. We got to make it happen. I'm the biggest fan of this guy. He posted that the Meta Quest 3S Xbox edition is now available. Everything you love about Quest and Xbox in one sweet package. It's sleek, it's awesome, and it's limited edition. And you know what else? I already ordered one. It's coming to the studio.
There we go.
Yeah, I'm very excited. And so, I mean, it doesn't seem like this is like the next. What?
I always said this is a real risk factor.
Oh, it is. It
John's
is.
gaming addiction.
I'm not addicted to alcohol. I'm not addicted to gambling. I'm addicted to video games. Seriously. If I ever go down a real bender, I will take
It's scary too because I've never seen you play a video game.
Oh, yeah. The entire time we've been doing the show, I haven't logged an hour of video games. I haven't played them in a long time.
Oh,
but you get me the GTA 6 drops.
I'm just ripping this thing off.
We might be using a Delphi here in my state.
We got to go live.
Yeah. But I have been so this is not the Quest 4. This is not a proper hardware iteration where we're getting the screen from the Apple Vision Pro pulled in, which I think will be in the next version, which will be a major development because there will truly be no screen door effect, and you will like the resolution will be remarkable because that's what the Apple Vision Pro did so well. That technical hardware now exists in the world. Meta's clearly going to go get that and bake that into the next Quest 4. But the Quest 3S has already been a pretty solid product. But what they're doing here is they're leaning into video games that are not VR specifically. And I think that this is 100% the correct move because so much of VR content is this chicken and egg problem. No game developer wants to go and spend, I mean, how long have they been working on GTA 6? Like a decade? And it's cost them like $1 billion. No one wants to do that if no one has the VR headsets. No one wants to buy the VR headsets if there's no GTA 6 on it. So what do you do? Well, with Meta Xbox, you get GTA 6 on the Xbox and you just play it on a big screen in VR, and you're able to sit on your couch, and instead of having to mess with a projector that might be a few $1,000s or a TV that's a couple $1,000, you throw on this headset that's a couple $100, and you get the movie theater experience in your apartment, on a train, on a plane, wherever you are. You'll be able to stream Xbox games. So I'm very excited about this partnership. Excited for them to go deeper. And Microsoft, early Meta investor, actually.
There you go.
So,
well, we have Amjad in the studio. Get
Welcome
the hammer.
to
Get
the
the hammer
stream.
ready,
Oh,
John.
yes. Give us the number.
Ready.
What's the news?
What's the new revenue?
We've been waiting for this.
100 million.
100. Boom.
Let's go.
Incredible.
Congratulations.
I thought this was going to be 100 banks.
100 bangs.
100
We'll have to do it after the show, but I will give you one of these.
Success.
Classic overnight success. Replit. There we go. All right, John. He broke the hammer. Replit's going so fast, the hammer broke.
The hammer breaking growth. Congratulations. How'd you do it? What's the one
simple trick?
What's the secret to success?
It's been easy, just a little bit of work, not too many years. I started working on Replit back in college. I had the idea for it back in college, and actually the first implementation of it was open source, and it went viral on Hacker News in 2011. And then I sort of we left it for a while. It didn't work much on it, and then actually my wife Haya, who's my co-founder, kind of revived the project. In 2016, we started as a company, and it was brutal. We barely were able to raise money. We tried to sort of like bootstrap it initially. During the pandemic, we sort of took off, especially as we were the only sort of collaborative editor in the cloud. And when AI came on the scene, we just knew this is the future of our company because our mission is to make programming more accessible so that anyone can do it. And with the launch of Replit agents back in September, and we created a category basically of prompt to application, and that really sort of finally went from something that a lot of people use and love but don't pay for to something that's also commercially successful.
Yeah, I feel like your company is now maybe the only AI company that's appropriately hyped. Like it's not overhyped. You haven't raised the $10 billion round and you're paying the $100 million salaries, but also the growth's been really serious and the business is really real, which is great to see. How have the crazy news of the $100 million salaries been affecting you? Is it harder to hire these days? I know you've kind of changed the structure of the team, relocated the team, I believe. So walk me through the current hiring market for the type of engineers you're trying to hire.
Yeah, so a few things that's sort of different about Replit. One is that team is relatively small. We're still around the 70, 75 people. We haven't been growing all that fast. We are not in San Francisco, which makes it a little harder to hire. We're in Foster City, probably the only startup, perhaps maybe there's a couple others in Foster City. And we just take a different approach to the culture, and we like expect more commitment and want people to come to Replit and work for a long time. Especially since I've been working on this for so long, my mindset is that it's just going to take a long time. And like San Francisco, Silicon Valley culture has been increasingly about I'm going to go spend 12 months here, 18 months there, and so we're building it more methodically. In terms of hiring, definitely it's been very competitive. I love OpenAI and Sam, and he's talking about how Zuck is doing that to them, but obviously OpenAI is doing it to the rest of us. And so it's just a different scale. They're trying to poach their employees for 100 million. They try to poach everyone for 10 million. And so just a factor of like how much revenue I guess you're making. But look,
but it's part of from a hiring standpoint, because you're keeping the team small now, revenue per employee is
over
high,
$1 million per employee.
I'm sure new valuations at some point will allow you to sort of have be competitive from a comp standpoint.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing about valuation is that I think startup employees should start thinking more about these things, because a lot of companies can be profitable earlier on, and so we're trying to build the business for the long term, and instead of like playing the hype game. When you've been building a company for as long as I've been, you've been through so many ups and downs and hypes and lows that you just become very steady-minded about it.
Yeah, totally. I guess like the bigger, not to, no pun intended, the meta question here is are we in a new era of valuing the leverage that truly world-class managers or AI engineers can have, the impact that they can have, and reassessing the value? We've talked a lot about this on the stream, that Apple's culture doesn't seem to be receptive to paying an NBA level salary. And Tim Cook, he makes $75 million.
He doesn't even make 75. He only makes 74.6.
It's a big number, but it's tiny considering their market cap. And what if you could come into Apple and move the needle 1%, that's a $30 billion market cap move. Yeah. Could you capture 1% of that? That's still $300 million, and yet they're not valuing talent in that way. It feels like there's a change in strategy at Meta. Do you think that that's a do you think that that's a unique case in where we are in the technological rollout of AI, or is it more that we're finally catching up to just understanding the economic dynamics and impacts like the NBA has for years?
Yeah, so the buzzword in Silicon Valley for a long time has been the 10x engineer. About 3 years ago, and maybe in 22, I talked about the 1000x engineer. Highly kind of leveraged by autonomous agents. When right now, people with Replit, Claude Code, and others, they're spinning up multiple agents to work on their project as they're working on their main tasks, and there's a lot of other explorations and tasks and prototyping happening everywhere. And so you're really not just one person, you're a team of engineers, right? And so we talk about engineering managers. I think every engineer is sort of a manager right now. And so yeah, I mean we're not at 1000x yet, but we're going up. I think pretty soon the difference between a great engineer that knows how to use the AI tools and an okay or good one is going to be 100x, I think, over the next 6 to 12 months. So the compensation structure, I assume, would start to change to match that.
How do you think about Replit's potential today? It seems like every day in the timeline, the obvious thing is everyone becomes an engineer, and it's being able to create software is fully democratized. But every day in the timeline, I see people realizing how much they spend on different SaaS products and thinking, how much time would it really take for me to kind of make a version of this for myself that fits my very specific need, like document signing.
Talk to the Klarna CEO about this.
Yeah, something along those lines. And so is part of the potential that you see CEOs and companies everywhere sort of running that sort of buy versus build calculus in terms of all sorts of tooling that they're using internally, externally, et cetera, and seeing trillions, or hundreds of billions of dollars of market cap that you guys could ultimately replace?
Yeah, I mean, look, right now there is sort of information asymmetry. A lot of people in Silicon Valley and tech know how to use these tools, but a lot of people outside of here just aren't aware how much savings and how much productivity they can gain. I met someone from Australia the other day here in Silicon Valley. He stopped me on the street. I was like, oh, I love Replit. He runs like a construction company. And he's like, I'm the CEO now, and I'm the most productive engineer at the company. I like build all these tools and dashboards, and I replace Monday.com and all this other stuff with home built stuff that is exactly bespoke and works exactly for my use case. Another story, the guy, his name is Ahmad George. He works at a skincare company, I think in DC. And he's an operations manager. He's responsible for like the ERP systems and things like that. He had an intuition that they could automate, I don't know, a big percentage of the work, 20-30% of the hours of human work. And he went and got a quote from NetSuite to build this piece of automation software. It was $132,000 to build. So he went to Replit, spent $400, built it for their company, rolled it out, went to the CEO, told him, look at how much time and money I'm saving. And the CEO gave him $32,000 for the
That's
software.
amazing.
Wow, that's awesome.
So yeah, it's there's a period of time at some point, the market will like equalize as everyone realizes that you can do this stuff. But for now, there's a massive arbitrage opportunity.
Yeah. As you build out agents and agentic workflows, are you limited by data for RL pipelines? Are you buying any services from the Scale AIs of the world or the Mercors of the world, or are you able to sit at a higher level of abstraction and kind of let the foundation labs get their hands dirty with all that?
Having been a platform where millions of people coded over the years, actually we could be a supplier of data.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, we have all the data we need. I think it's still early for us to try to exploit all of that, and we're hiring as fast as we can. So if you want to come work on AI at Replit, I think we have a really exciting opportunities to use data to kind of create amazing new capabilities.
It's very cool. I have another question.
Go for it.
Are you feeling the acceleration in software development?
I don't know.
I was thinking about this.
Pretty
as I
easy
was-
to when you refresh the Stripe dashboard and
Yeah,
you see the jump.
no. I get that. But as a consumer, I was just thinking about like the apps on my phone still haven't changed as fast as I've thought, and there's in my business, folks are using different tools, but it doesn't feel like the rate of like churning for most consumers. We're not rebuilding all the different consumer apps right now. It feels like we're very much in like this exploration phase for like what the next. It feels like we're almost pre-Cambrian explosion for consumer AI-driven apps or uniquely enabled by AI apps. There's a lot of creation tools. So like VO3 is amazing. That got me to install the Gemini app, and I paid for that. And I enjoy generating my paltry 3 video queries per day, sir. Yeah, have some more, Sundar, please. Maybe you can help me. I think, don't you know him? Help.
We're good partners. Dude,
Yes,
my
please have me
TikTok
more.
feed,
But yes,
my TikTok feed is 100% AI now, and maybe because I like them so much, I've been into the Bigfoot.
yeah.
Yeti
So maybe
Hoof.
that's like the instantiation of the consumer adoption of AI is like you're a consumer through TikTok as opposed to through like it's a very 2010 mindset to think that my home screen apps would change, and instead the 2025 mindset is what is happening inside of those apps is changing. Is that the right framework?
Yeah, I think you're right. I do think that Apple is probably holding back the ecosystem. I mean, Apple really has been attacks on startups, has been attacks on innovation. I love this company as much as anyone would love Apple, but they are sort of like a government in a way that they're like old and moving slow, and they just like put up so much barriers. Like when I want to ask my phone, I go to Perplexity like 100 times a day. Like I should be able to like press a button, just like talk to it and it talking to me, but it's not working that way, and it is frustrating. But look, I think AI adoption is moving as faster than any technology adoption we've seen in the past, faster than the web, faster than mobile, but it still doesn't feel fast enough, like you say. And by the way, this is an interesting kind of data point on the folks that are really worried about AGI and things like that. The limiting factor to adoption is really humans and corporations and governments, and all of these things are very, very slow.
Yeah, this is kind of the Tyler Cowen take of like how AGI will be rolled out is there's a lot of sticky industries that just won't adopt it for a long time, and there will be lots of barriers. Is there anything else on the Apple side? My takeaway from WWDC was that on-device inference could be a catalyst for an app store explosion, an AI app explosion. Then there's the ruling about third-party payment processing, things that like the tax is becoming less of a requirement. Maybe you can work around it, and so maybe the barriers are dropping ever so slightly.
And I feel like you would see this early.
Totally,
if
that's
developers become really excited about this sort of effectively free inference, where they can launch an app that goes viral without worrying about running up some bill with OpenAI.
Yeah,
I mean, look, the Apple has held back the web quite a bit as well. Like, there's no reason why native apps should be much better performing than web apps. Really, there's no fundamental physics reason for that. I've actually, the head of product at Replit, Jordan Walk, and myself worked on React Native. He's the inventor of React and React Native at Facebook. And the reason we worked on that is we felt at Facebook, we felt sort of like oppressed by Apple. Like they controlled what we launched, when we launched it, and they would reject, you would have a launch and it was delayed by Apple. And so the idea behind it is like, can we ship over the air updates very, very quickly? And yes, you can, but again, Apple kind of like makes it a lot harder. And so I think AI has an opportunity to create an alternative platform entirely, because the form factor of computing is on the precipice of changing. I saw you guys talking about VR. AR is another one. Audio is another one. we've seen all these toy companies like Rabbit and things like that come and go, but
Yeah.
there's like an intuition there that's correct. I think everyone's feeling that the form factor needs innovating, and I think this is how you break out of the like Apple jail.
Walled garden. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is great. You got to come back on. We could yap about all different news stories. Do you have anything else, Jordy, you want to get now?
We got to get you on regularly.
Yeah. Last
time I was here, I got canceled. So
what? No, we went. That was the most viral clip of that month. I think.
What happened?
I think. Well, I asked, should people learn to code, and he gave kind of a controversial answer, saying like, no, you shouldn't learn to code anymore, and it got like millions and millions of views. So
I bet it drove some signups
for sure. For sure. Learn to vibe code. You gave a very nuanced answer. I don't think there was anything that crazy about it.
The internet does not understand nuance.
Canceled and viral are two sides of the same coin. Like
doesn't matter anime. Doesn't matter. Be yourself. Haters gonna hate.
Yeah, just don't get deplatformed from Gemini, because otherwise the 3 VO prompts will be 0 and your life will be miserable because you got to prompt those.
Thanks, guys. You do great work. Really appreciate the show.
Yeah.
Well, come back on at 200 at this rate. It'll probably be next week.
So. Let's do it. We're ready with the gongs, ready to go.
Yeah, we'll get a new hammer. So we'll be ready.
Thanks,
we'll talk to you soon.
Cheers.
Bye. Next up, we have
Dirtman.
Another anonymous account. I don't know why he's anonymous, but
he launched cheaprobotarm.com today.
Very excited for this.
He's making Cheap Robot.
Go buy them now.
He used to have a different name on the show. We used to cover his posts. I used to laugh every time.
But it was rude, so we just call him Dirtman. Welcome to the stream.
Dirtman.
How you doing, Dirtman?
No, he changed his name.
Oh, he did?
He dropped the parentheses.
Wow, classing it up. Introduce yourself. Who are you?
Yeah. Hey guys, my name's Angus. I'm an engineer from Australia.
Cool.
My background's like very much in aerospace, and I've been like obsessed with like building these kind of robots for I don't know, like the last 10 years or something. And it's building this mini one, it was really like a stepping stone for me on the way to building welding robotics. I've got some larger robots where I'm just setting up a workshop currently to do basically strap on cameras, sensor systems, and drive the whole thing via AI. Because we're basically at the point where there's we have the ability to drive these really complex and industrial scale robotic systems, like with the current robotic foundation models, given the right training data. And so this small robot that I've got on cheaprobotarm.com is
great domain.
Was really I mean, I'm surprised it was available. I was like, hell yeah. .com.
That's great.
But it was really just a test bed. I'm working with a few guys. One guy, Julian, out of Pennsylvania, runs a shop floor like of welding robots, and another guy, Steven, currently works for NASA. He's working on the vision system protocol. But it's really a test bed for us to validate our algorithms, do small scale prototyping. The picture that I've got up there, I don't have many demos because it was basically thrown together at 2 a.m. my time last night. Got the shop
doing it live,
store up and running, and
doing it live. So what do you want people to use these for? What are the use cases that you're imagining?
Yeah, so very much the same as I would say those Le Robot ones. It's just a much more robust platform. So improved power in the servos, improved structural integrity. But the key, one of the key differences is I've actually built an industrial quality kinematic solver. And basically what that's telling you is, where the end effector of the robot needs to be. There's usually a whole bunch of equations that you're either solving numerically, or you've got a solver in a low dimensional space that you can work out really quickly. I built a really robust one for 6 degrees of freedom, and then this is just more than you get with with I guess what's typically being used in all of those AI hackathons. And so I've written all the software so you can take all of the outputs from an AI model and just stream joint commands to it, connect it to things like NVIDIA's Isaac Sim. But you can also run it like a traditional industrial robot. and do path planning for really, really high fidelity, trajectories and controls. And the benefit of that is like all of that information that you can stream and record from those joints as you use the high quality kinematic solver, you can use that as the training data. So you see a lot of these guys, like a lot of these robot systems, they've got, one arm and then another one's controlled by a human with a little lever, and they're like going and doing these pick and place or whatever. And that, like, you're just streaming like this joint should be the joint angle of this other robot. And frankly, that's really crap data for training robots. You get it done, but you can see all the movements all janky. It's the same kind of movement that the human's doing with a robot. It's awkward. But industrial robots, they've been doing this for decades, right? And they have really nice trajectories, really smooth path planning. But the bottleneck is like, how do you get that high quality data? And with this software combined with this, little robot package, that's what I can do. That's what this can do for people. Help them get really high quality data without and only having to buy one robot. You don't need to buy like the equipment for two.
That's amazing. How is the health of this sort of open source robotic hacker world right now? We had Clem on earlier from Hugging Face, and he said this was an area that he was most excited about on his platform, and he said they hosted a hackathon recently. It sounds like there's a lot of exciting activity here, and you're contributing to it yourself.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I basically just posted all the code on GitHub for free. I think there's it's like a really exciting time at the moment, just because there's so much activity and attention in it, and there's many more people really coming into the field and having a go and learning, like not just robotics but on the hardware side, right? It's it's like my background's aerospace and mechanical engineering. Was built rocket engines once upon a time, and it's we kind of got left out in the cold by Silicon Valley a little bit. You saw but you see all the the major, all the really standout companies are all hardware companies. Space like SpaceX and Dural, and a whole range of them. And I think there's a lot of attention just on this area has really put a lot of energy, particularly into the open source space, which is awesome to see.
How have sales been? Have you sold any yet?
Yeah. So I've woken up. Well, we've got 3 sales so far.
There we go.
Boom. Congratulations.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys.
That's 3 sales. That's $1,500 in one day. You annualize that, I think we're in the millions.
I think if you put together the right deck, maybe you take a trip to Sand Hill Road. Yeah. You tell the right story.
Hop on a quick flight.
200
Sydney
on a billion.
To SFO.
200 on a billion.
Easy. Get it done.
Get it done.
Yeah. Look, it's I think Yassine said hey, my valuation should be the same as figured because I've never shipped more. Apparently.
Shots fired.
Hey,
Shots fired.
Not my words. Yapsine.
Yapsine was Coogan figure earlier.
Yeah, I mean this this feels like something that would be perfect for the AI grant program from Nat Friedman. This is going to be the enabling technology. This is going to be deeper in the supply chain for the robot that picks up the leaves, or one of these fun, delightful robots. I hope Nat can continue that program. He certainly has the resources for it, and it'd be very cool to see that partnered up with the Meta
I would like a robot.
I was definitely keen to head to the US.
Let's get you here.
About 18 months ago, I stopped by the Gundo, met Augustus and a bunch of other fellas. It's been awesome to see those guys. I think I went there when Valor Atomics was just a squat rack in an empty room.
It was just a squat rack with scraps. Well, you seem like an alien of extraordinary robotic abilities. So my vote is we get you over here.
Bring you in.
Yeah.
This is fantastic.
Should be there in a couple of months, I think.
Great. Cool. Well, let's tune the robot up to crack open
energy drinks. That would be useful
on the desk. It'd be great if we could just hit a button.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to reach over here and crack them ourselves.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it's brutal.
Congratulations on the launch.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I really appreciate it, fellas. And love the show. Been a big fan since the beginning. So keep it up.
Appreciate it.
I'll never forget your name.
When the first time it came up in the deck. This is great.
Amazing.
We'll talk to you soon. Have a good one.
Cheers, Angus.
All right.
Have a
Thanks,
good one.
Fellas.
Congrats.
Bye. Should we go through some timeline, get out of here, move on? We got a big show tomorrow.
Let's rip a little timeline.
Just a little timeline couldn't hurt. We got Will Manitis talking about there is no real index of wealth in the world other than the landowner.
The landowner 100. Everybody should be aspiring to get on this list.
Total acres. John Malone's got over 2 million. Ted Turner's got over 2 million. I like the Reed family here at 1.6 million.
Just
Specifically,
a picture of a bear.
Just a picture of a bear. I don't know if do they not have another picture that they could pull from? I have no idea.
I think
you got to start land
people
maxing.
should just buy land. Just go buy. Start with an acre.
Yeah.
Could be anywhere. Could be out in the desert. Start with an acre.
Just double it every day for 100 days, and you're good.
Yeah.
Just double.
Getting the landowner 100.
Doomer says how it feels to charge your phone off your MacBook Pro and it's refueling the B-70.
It really does feel exactly. I mean, this couldn't have been more perfect.
It's so accurate. Yeah, I mean, a million views makes sense. Yeah,
it's a perfect analogy. You know, you got some juice.
It's fantastic.
You're sharing it. You're both running out.
We got to talk about this one from 9 to 5 Mac. Control Center is now darker and much more blurred in iOS 26 Beta 2. Good news for Tyler. He's been struggling with iOS 26 Beta 1, but Beta 2 is now available. The contrast ratios have been fixed, improved. It's easier to read. We knew Apple would do this. We called this out, that any of the criticism that you lever at Apple's design chops, it's not going to be an issue by the time they launch. Tyler, how has daily driving iOS 26 been over the last few weeks?
I mean, I think overall it's been very good. I think most of the issues, it's hard to tell if it's because my phone is just so old.
Yeah,
or
it's the phone.
iOS.
Yeah,
but I think overall, like, it looks really nice.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's great.
But okay, that's good to hear. I like Arvin's from.
I wouldn't have been surprised if he's like, I haven't been able to open my phone for weeks now since that fateful day.
No, it didn't break.
Thank you for being a guinea pig for the world.
Yes, Arvin from Perplexity is building in public, building a competitor to Bloomberg in public. I love this. He's searching Perplexity. How much revenue does Bloomberg make yearly? He's been pretty open about wanting to build like a new version of the Bloomberg terminal. And so he's just searching how much money do they make? And he says Bloomberg makes $12 billion in annual revenue with $10 billion coming from the terminal. And then he's just like throwing this out there, like, hey, maybe I'll do this. Like, maybe you should invest in this. It's like it's a hilarious thing to post.
Well, I've been a recent DAU of Perplexity.
Oh yeah, and
you like a lot of value out of it.
I mean, it makes sense that
on the free tier.
It makes sense that,
but they're going to get me soon.
Yeah, it makes sense that an LLM company, an AI company, it's like it does feel like there's a fork in the road for Perplexity. It's either team up with Apple and become the new default search and figure out something there, or go into Bloomberg, because like the core product
ultimately
people
it's just
like
a very different product to try to actually compete with terminal versus displaying data.
Distribution is just so important. I mean, we saw this with DuckDuckGo. Like, a lot of people in Silicon Valley, a lot of power users preferred DuckDuckGo to Google, but DuckDuckGo never got to the scale that Google did just because of distribution. And so, he's clearly looking at Bloomberg. There's rumors that he's talking to Apple. It's interesting to see where that goes.
But he's cooking.
Anyway, Pierre Richelson from Cal.com says, I think organizing LAN parties for 30-plus-year-olds could unironically be a banger. Warcraft 3, Battlefield 1942. I played that game. Great. Age of Empires, Dota. What else? I don't know why you got to have 30-year-old plus. Bring the Teal fellows in. Bring the interns.
They didn't really play those games, John. You're dating yourself.
Yeah, but they can pick it up. I mean, a lot of these games.
But it's about the nostalgia.
Yeah. I went to a hackathon last year, put on by a venture capital firm. It was fun. They had some Halo. Halo 3 was the popular one. But the new Halo, if you install it, they just give you all the previous Halos. You can just play any of them in like in like one disc, I guess.
That's very cool.
Like, buy the current one. It's like SaaS now. You buy the current one, you get all the previous ones. Yeah. Should we close with Cowtech startup?
Yeah,
this was exciting.
Good on R for Rock.
Confirmed 1 month earlier.
1 month early.
Cowtech startup becomes New Zealand's latest unicorn in $100 million fundraising.
A rare New Zealand unicorn.
I said this was very bullish.
For beef?
For cows.
For cows.
It's bullish. Did you not see that?
Knee slapper.
Knee slapper.
Knee slapper. Well, we could just keep going all day long here, John. But
If you get a text message from Mark Zuckerberg or an email, do not assume that it's fake. He has taken over recruitment for the Super Intelligence Lab and is reaching out to hundreds of prospects personally. If you respond, this next step is an invitation to dinner. So he's in founder mode. He's grinding. He's putting together the Avengers. It's coming together nicely. I'm liking it. I'm liking it so far. It's fun. Anyway, I think that's enough for today. Thank you for watching. Leave us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and we will see you tomorrow.